Greetings, gamers, and welcome to the 142nd live stream from the MisfitGamersStudios. I'm your host, Vortex, and this is D&D Discussions. Today we have a very special episode. Instead of doing a history of, which I kind of wanted to do, it's been a few weeks since we've done one. I was kind of messing around earlier this afternoon, and I ended up creating something, and it was actually relatively quickly. I created it in like 15 minutes, but it's been something I've been thinking about. I even brought it up on stream a couple months ago, and it is a new subclass. So we're gonna do something a little bit different. We're gonna turn the tides, or we're gonna flip the table, and y'all are gonna look at something that I just created today in like 15 minutes, and you were gonna critique it. You were gonna give me advice and suggestions. I will be honest, I'm very, very happy with this. Similar to any other community creation, this is probably going to already be in High Point. I'm like gonna sleep on it for a few days, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna add this to High Point. But I wanted to give you guys the option to basically give me a little bit of taste of my own medicine. Kage's here. He hasn't seen it yet either. So everybody, I'm gonna just read it off as we normally do on a normal Monday, but it's not Monday, so I didn't want to take time away from y'all's reviews. But yes, I'm gonna go over this. And Kage was nice enough right before stream, he came over and was able to put it in the normal format. So we're gonna do kind of a normal presentation of my homebrew. And yeah, we're gonna see what you guys think. Give me advice, suggestions, give me just first impressions, basically what we normally would do. And it's kind of interesting because this will be a first for High Point, because this will be High Point's first official 5th edition class, subclass that I've ever built for High Point. Everything's been from the view of 2nd edition, so this is gonna be kind of exciting. And yeah, I'm really excited for this. So that's all my preamble for that. How's it going?
Well, shalom, my friends. I'm crazy excited. I came over to a surprise that this was even what's happening. So the fact that I get to review another subclass, a monk subclass at that, and
it's our first monk subclass, by the way, right?
Yes, I just realized that I was going through our leaderboard, and we don't have a monk subclass by anybody else. So
chat, you are going to get to review the very first monk subclass on the show. I'm not even going to get to do it.
Wild.
Because it already has a 10 out of 10 for me.
Theoretically, yes.
But yeah, so I'm really curious what you guys think about it. Like I said, I would like to say that I've spent a long time on it, but I didn't. I really wrote this up in like 15 minutes. A lot of the fluff and the description was definitely helped by ChatGPT, so I'm not going to hide behind that at all. I didn't write every word of this, but all of the abilities, the balancing, and the naming schemes were by me. Just all of the the description and all of the extra fluff was primarily generated by ChatGPT, and then I just kind of did some very, very quick 2-minute editing just to make sure it's right. better for High Point.
Feel that.
So yeah, so it doesn't really go into a whole lot, but it is just it's kind of cool. I like it. So yeah, the idea is we'll go through this. We'll see what chat thinks. We'll see if it's balanced. We'll see if you guys think what you guys think of the individual abilities. We do have the monk class open, so we can also kind of side by side it on the level per level. Go through my thinking of this. And I have the 3 other monk subclasses opened up that that inspired me for this subclass.
Very nice. Yes, I'm excited for that.
And I'll give you guys a little teaser. So the 3 subclasses that helped me build this, on the low level to help with the first the start out and the lowest level of my class, I used Path of the Kensai to help give me some inspiration.
Sure.
For the mid range leveling, I used Way of the Drunken Master.
Always wanted to play one of those, still haven't yet, but
and to help solidify and confirm my capstone, I looked to the Way of the Open Hand,
as you should.
And I was a little bit concerned because my capstone, when I was writing it up, I started to looked at Open the Hand because I wanted to see, I was just looking at various monk subclasses to see which one give me inspiration. And I was kind of worried that my capstone ability was starting to sound a lot like Open Hands, but at the end they're not identical. But it is weird that there's probably some influence subtly or subconsciously from the dozens of times I've read this. But luckily they are different abilities, but they are very eerily similar, and I didn't find that out.
They're like brothers.
I didn't find it out until I looked at this one to just verify, hey, does this balance? Because I looked at all of them to see does it fit?
Is it anything like this?
And these are the three
Scale
that really help me solidify my ideas, but they do sound eerily similar. So we're gonna go through those as well. And like I said, we do have the regular monk build to kind of just step by step that as well. So I hope everybody had a fantastic week. I know we got a couple people in chat already. I saw Soul was there, Hecate, and Nugget.
Welcome, shalom, my friends,
for showing up today. It's a very exciting day. I hope that you guys will enjoy this review. I hope you guys will enjoy just what I've created. I'm super excited. As you know, again, as quickly as I did it, I impressed myself just with how excited I am that it feels usable. You know, because like I was telling Kage before stream, like, you know, you can do a lot of things quickly. You can make something completely imbalanced quickly, and you can make things that are super balanced very quickly. But a lot of the times, those things will end up not feeling very useful or not being desirable, right? Like you could look at them and go, yeah, that's balanced. It works. I don't know why I would choose it, but it works as is. And yeah, at the end of this one, I was kind of feeling like that's how this one was going to feel, is just be like, oh, that works. But yeah, once it was all said and done and I reread it, I was like, actually,
that's kind of the business.
This actually might work for people. So I'm really excited to see if anybody in chat would be interested in using this type of class at the end of the day. So you guys should let me know what y'all think when we're all said and done. Without giving anything away, do you have any initial questions, chat or you? Do you want any hints, clues? Do you have any questions? Do you have? You just want to just dive right in.
I'm here for it. When I think of pressure points, I think of not just when I think of pressure points, I think of not just, you know, hitting nerves, but I think of like actually being able to accomplish different things. And so in my head, this was something that I was thinking about when you and I were talking about earlier, but I wanted to wait till we were on stream to say it. But I kind of not expect, but like in my mind, one of the initial things I'm thinking is like, I would love to see some potentially like out of combat uses for this, as well as the ability to like affect like certain body parts and like have certain effects and like do certain things, you know?
I definitely feel you on that one. I will say that again, because of the way that Monk goes, you only get 4 levels to tinker with.
Sure. Yep.
And I really love your ideas in terms of out of combat use. I will say I didn't go there because like I mentioned before stream, I wanted to stay simple. I didn't want to get overly complicated because I knew I would be able to.
That's very fair.
So to be fair, yes, there's a lot to be desired in some areas, but keep in mind, this is coming from a DM from a D&D side of things, you know, older school.
Sure.
That's much deeper into storytelling. So while this was written with 5th edition mechanics in mind and the way that I laid it out, keep in mind that a lot can be inferred by implication. Therefore, like what you were saying, out of combat uses. I definitely see this as having potential, but it doesn't explicitly say it. So I don't necessarily have things in there that say you can use this and there's a very obvious out of combat use. But keep in mind that this is coming from a DM who might have not put that in the words simply because that would make, like, to me, it may just be not necessarily obvious, but they maybe that was just something that I thought of as like, oh yeah, and that could just be something else you could do with it.
Right.
Instead of having
a way for like the player to like role play into what they can do.
Yes. But there is, now that I'm thinking over it, I do think that there's a lot to be desired in terms of, I think there could be verbiage definitely added to specify what could be done.
Interesting.
But again, you'll see as I wrote it, it may borderline between making it too complex trying to do that.
Right.
And maybe that's where subletting subclasses comes in, where
Fair enough.
Maybe a pressure point ranger or cleric could do the extra things, like, maybe there could be different classes that could use different types of pressure points for different things.
Okay.
So we'll get through this one.
I'm not mad at that.
We'll see if you still have that idea, because I do agree with you. I really wish I would have gone the extra mile and put maybe 1 or 2 things to point to more out of combat.
Okay.
I kind of wish I would have done that.
Real quick, you before stream, you were looking something up. I think you looked it up on ChatGPT, and it was when we were looking for a name for that other piece that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Could you send me those 2 descriptions for those 2 names we were looking at?
Yes.
Perfect. Fabulous. Thank you.
Yes. There in Discord. All right. And funny enough, from Hecate, they were making a pressure point monk last week.
Really?
Apparently.
Wild.
So Hecate,
send it in. We love it.
Get yours out so we could do a side by side. Let me get ready to give us like maybe a little bit of a summary when we're all said and done, just to see if there's any similarities at all to what you've done. Oh, we got to hydrate. Thank you so much, Red Lego.
Yeah, we don't have
hydration is super important. Appreciate that.
We don't have Aki here to group mamas.
Gotta shave up for my vacation.
Oh, fair enough. That's right.
That's the only reason why
a week
really
from today.
Yeah, well, actually, a week from yesterday technically is when. Well, no, we fly out Wednesday. Actually, yeah, we
Wednesday.
Fly out
Oh, goodness.
No, we do fly out Thursday. We do fly out Thursday. We come back on Monday. That's right, Thursday to Monday.
Legit.
I just took Wednesday off from work.
Smart. Very smart.
That's the only reason why I haven't cleaned up at all. Is I'm just gonna clean up right before we leave. So
it's fresh.
Probably like on Sunday. So
that's fair enough.
That's a day or two to grow out, and then we leave.
Listen, I couldn't wait. Mine was just I needed to rotate.
I'm also trying to figure out what I want to do. I'm kind of liking keeping the. I'm trying to do the extra mustache for a little bit. I kind of like it. You know, it's kind of working, but it's a little bit scruffy, so it doesn't work or it doesn't look great right now. All right, so Hecate, I'm really curious to know if you have any expectations or any I don't know. What do you think initially about? I'm curious if you have any ideas about what I came up with in turn, compared to what you did, because I have no idea. There's so many ways you can take pressure points.
Yeah,
there's so many ways you can take pressure points. I'm really curious. I feel like, I will be honest. I feel like this is very balanced. I feel like it's usable. I feel like it's approachable. But this was, I mean, you know me. This was not an attempt to min-max. And I think I was telling you this before stream. This was not an attempt to make a min-max character. This was not an attempt to make a spotlight character who like takes over the party. I will say that I built this with the lore in mind that monks are self-sufficient. They have to take care of themselves. So I built it with the mindset of character self-sufficiency. But at the same time, it has unintended support effects. So while
that's right.
While it was built more for themselves, they are a huge supporting additive to any party. So I feel like that's it's a good balance because it's not meant to stand out. It's meant to hold its own, but in a party, it provides so much to the rest of everybody else. I hope you guys agree.
I feel that.
Again, I feel like it's not overpowered. It's not like OP. You're not meant to be like I think it's more akin to when we did the other class. What was the other class that we just made?
The Echo Stalker?
Yeah, kind of like that, where this one feels more like where I'm trying to really lean into being a really good monk instead of trying to create something that just has a hint of monk. Kind of like how we really Echo Stalker to lean into just being a really good rogue. This is basically trying to lean into being a really, really good monk.
I like that. It makes feel everything that you are feel valuable instead of just like as a warlock, all you ever do is cast Eldritch Blast. Like Eldritch Blast, like that's everything you're gonna do.
This one is designed in order to feel like you're still a monk. Like it's not meant to like take away anything that you learn. It's not meant to take you in a completely different direction. But it holds its own. It's not anything else that you've seen before. Right. And I really try to follow the same format that every other monk subclass does, where at third level, when you get the monk, it really does what we have always said a subclass should do, which monk does amazingly, which is just define what the subclass is. That third level ability should really set you apart and really define what your future is all about. Mm-hmm. Then I found that with monk, that sixth level ability usually harkens off of one of the things that a monk already got by its very nature, like the regular monk.
Right.
So a lot of the things proc off of Step of the Wind. They proc off of Fury of Blows. So usually that 6th level procs off of something that's vital to the monk itself.
Yeah.
11th level usually is what I like to call the reinforcement or reinstatement of the class.
Right.
It reclassifies it, like it not changes it, but it
brings you back.
It reaffirms what the class is all about, kind of like another level 3. It just tells you here's what we're all about, and then that capstone typically either brings it all together or it takes it just that one extra step,
adds some quality of life,
and adds that quality of life.
I feel that
you get the main monk capstone. So that's what I try to follow here. I hope you all agree. Hecate didn't make it fully because I went a different direction for a monk subclass, but you can message us the features. That'd be awesome. Or at least just keep them in mind and post any similarities or differences that you went as we go along.
Definitely.
But if that's it, there are no other questions, we can get into...
Oh, I'm here for it. Let's do this dance.
We can get into y'all's review of my stuff. So guys, in chat, do not be shy. Please chat, post, make comments, suggestions, advice, thumbs up, do whatever. This is you and Kage's chance to give me a taste of my own medicine for all of those homebrew reviews. So here we go. Oh, and by the way, this class has not been officially named yet. So I have 4 potential names. I'm going to save them until the end of chat.
Yes.
I'm going to do a poll at the end of chat for what the name should be.
Okay.
And then we're going to ask you guys to give me a rating. So the rating, similar how I give everybody a high point compatibility rating, I want you guys at the very end to give me a 1 out of 10 on basically usability. Do you think, basically a difference between would you use it and is it usable? Like, do you think that this could be taken to any gaming table? That's what I'm hoping for, is this is something that anybody could pick up and anybody could bring to a gaming table, and it won't feel out of place, it won't feel imbalanced, and no party will just be like, what are you doing, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for. So you guys can give me a 1 out of 10 out of that, and we'll aggregate what chat says. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. It's up to you and Kage to decide, how did I do in 15 minutes?
Okay.
And then at the end, like I said, we will, I'll wait to post the names. I'll post the names at the end of chat. And then I will give you guys one more little preamble here. Here's the reasons, just preemptively, why I went the directions that I did. Trying to look at what did I want out of this class and why I went with certain, well, actually, no. This actually more specifically answers a question of why I chose a certain stat. If that question comes up, I'll answer it with my answers. But okay. I'll wait for someone to ask, because maybe you guys will just get it. Maybe you guys will get it, and I don't have to.
Sure.
I don't have to DM explain anything. Maybe I can just do it, and you guys are all like, "Oh, I totally know why you did that." Maybe you guys will point out all the reasons I have listed here about why I chose it. Okay.
Fire.
Anyway, don't be nervous.
Got this. Let's go. I'm here for it.
All right. No, we got this. I got this. I mean, I do. I've reviewed so many. I should be, I should be confident in being able to at least say that I know what I'm doing here. All right, everybody, here we are with my pressure point monk. I have 4 different names, though. Obviously it's going to be a way of the something, but we will vote on that afterwards. So until then, we just have pressure point monk, because that's the concept of it. And that will be our placeholder name. Monastic Tradition by me, your host and DM Vortex. Here we are, the pressure point monk. Description: monks of the way of the pressure point harness the flow of life energy coursing through all living beings, manipulating it with surgical precision. Those monks study ancient techniques of pressure points, unlocking the ability to disrupt and control the vital energies of their enemies and allies alike. By blending their martial powers with profound insight into anatomy and ki, monks of this tradition become devastating foes and invaluable allies.
I love the fact that it talks about to disrupt and control, because that gives me very interesting ideas of what you may or may not be able to do to your opponent with some of these abilities and how you're going to be able to break it down. That's very cool. That's very cool. I like that. I like that a lot.
And I like lore. I like writing lore. I mean, again, ChatGPT helped me with a bit of this fluff, because I haven't fully adopted it to high point, so I don't have its origin lore yet.
Sure.
But I liked how that put it. I changed a few things up that it had given. I wanted to change surgical, but I forgot to change that word.
Oh, gotcha.
It doesn't sound right for me.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
But I do like I like the essence of what it brings out, and I think it's one of those things where it's easy for anyone else to adapt that to their own lore. That was my hope for it.
Okay.
Not the best picture, but again, ChatGPT helped me get something to just throw on here. So
it's got a good vibe. I
don't mind it.
I feel like I get where you're going with it when it comes to looking at this.
I really wanted the energies to more be like veins around his body.
Right.
But you know, it's ChatGPT. What are you gonna do? All right. So small extra. That was like the description of the lore base. This is like a little bit extra that I did. That I wanted to just kind of add a little bit more flavor to. So masters of inner flow. Practitioners of the way of the pressure point understand that life flows like a river, and a single disruption can create a cascade of effects. These monks dedicate themselves to learning the location and significance of pressure points across the body, using them to slow, weaken, or outright incapacitate their opponents. In battle, they move with eerie precision, striking where it hurts most to control the flow of the fight. Beyond their mastery of harm, these monks are also caretakers of vitality. They channel their ki into bolster their allies and prepare devastating strikes and unleash stored potential energy at just the right moment. Those who cross the vital current often do not realize the depths of their mistake until it's too late.
Wild. It's already given me flashes to your capstone, and I'm very intrigued to see how
it's there.
Yes. Especially like because I feel like that is going to embody the progression as well, not just the capstone.
I really hope so, man. Chat, what do you guys think so far between the description and the lore? Anything yet on feedback, or are you guys just waiting to see the abilities? Maybe chat's just all about the mechanics. Maybe they don't care about the lore. Maybe they're like, just tell me what it can do.
I feel like I wish Pokénighter was here. I feel like
Pokénighter would just be blowing up chat.
He would be in the chat. He's always.
I wonder if Soul's still around, because I'm surprised Soul hasn't piped up. I don't see them in chat anymore. Maybe they're just lurking.
Fair enough.
Well, Hecate likes the lore. Well, thank you, Hecate. I appreciate that. Again, it's not so much lore that I will have in High Point, but I do like it's the lore of where it comes from, and I like that it's easy to explain, and it doesn't. Again, we already know that monks have the chi or the ki, whatever you guys want to call it. I kind of flip flop depending on what I'm talking about. I always find it like I don't know. It's like DBZ is Kai, and it's always like ki when it was D&D, but I know in real world I call it chi, and I don't know why I do that. But literally, if I'm talking DBZ, it's Kai.
I feel it.
And if I'm talking D&D,
it's instinctual. It's that's the habit that you formed because you know it from these different places.
But when I hear certain words, that's how I reference it. By the way, so if you ever hear me like flip flop on them while I'm reading them, it's because I noticed you spelt it chi, which is how I'm used to having it in the real world. Because it was or ChatGPT spelled chi, CHI. So my brain wants to say it that way.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm trying to talk about D&D, it's Kai points, so that's what I always try to remember to say. But at the same time, when I'm reading D&D, when I read it as Kai or Ki, I always think Kai because of DBZ. So it's like my brain is always in a struggle trying to figure out which one it wants to use.
It feels like when your parents are cycling through all the different names of their kids to like get to the right one. It's just like which one?
The dog, the cat, the car, like. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's, if you guys see me struggling when I get to that, it's because I got to remember that ChatGPT fucked it up. Well, they didn't fuck it up. They just fucked it up the way that I would have done it. But yeah. Anyway, so liking the lore, let's move on to so let's start with the monk. Just kind of do a brief overview for those of you who don't know. So obviously, when you make the monk, you are going to be a martial artist. You can have weapons. You can have unarmed strikes. So obviously, I'm trying to with this build, I want to focus in on more of the unarmed combat because again.
Sure.
While pressure points are a lot of times you think of like grab and hold and grappling kind of concepts, not always. Sometimes
very much so.
Sometimes it's a tap. Sometimes it's a hard jab. Sometimes it's a hold. Right. So I wanted to get into the idea that it's more than just holding, but I wanted to keep it to unarmed combat because I really think that we could use more unarmed monks. I like the idea of bringing out a reason to be unarmed. So that's where my direction is going to be. Apparently, Hecate sent you some features of their unfinished pressure point monk. So
okay.
if you want to compare or just have those as a side.
I'll grab those.
So as a monk, you have the unarmored defense, which, is just going to be standard. The martial arts, which is what I really wanted to lean into. Obviously, we have key points, and that's going to become a very big deal. Key points, as soon as you start out at that level, or not soon, but at level 2, when you get your key points, you can do things like Fury of Blows, which after you attack, after you take the attack action on your turn, you spend 1 key point and make 2 unarmed strikes as a bonus action.
Okay.
So I thought, so I'm thinking about that. Partial defense, you can spend a key point to use the dodge action, or Step of the Wind, you can spend a key point to disengage or dash. So basically, looking at how the other subclasses usually procced off of one of those, I kind of wanted to keep that in mind.
Okay.
Moving forward, you get your unarmed movement, so we already know that you're really fast. That's going to come in at the very, very end. We have something special for you guys, but we're going to get into that later. And then because I didn't want to bother with weapons, I'm not bothering with the dedicated weapon optional feat.
Sure.
Kind of pass that up. Deflect missiles at 3rd level. I mean, not enough said. I don't need to make any changes there, and that's just going to be what
deflect
you get
missiles
anyway.
is always fire.
And then we're not worried about the key fueled attack as an optional, because that's what the subclass is for.
Sure.
So I'm not really worried about the key fueled attack, because at that one, it's basically if you spend a key point or more as part of your action on your turn, you can make 1 attack with an unarmed strike or a monk weapon as a bonus action until the end of your turn. But we already talked about the fact that you basically can already make a free a bonus action attack as a monk, and no one really bothers with needing to spend a key point to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I feel like that's an unnecessary addition. You get slow fall at level 4. You get quickened healing at level 4 as well, but that's another optional feat. That's not going to matter to our build. You get an extra attack at level 5.
Fire.
So it's always good to remember that at level 5. You also get Stunning Strike at level 5. And this is being able to interfere with the flow of ki in an opponent's body. If you hit another creature with a melee attack, you can spend a key point to attempt a Stunning Strike. The target must succeed a Constitution saving throw, or they will be stunned until the end of your next turn.
That is one of my favorite abilities.
And I want us to keep in mind, because I kept that in mind, and you will hear Stunning Strike multiple times in my build. So remember Stunning Strike at level 5, because it comes up later down the road. You're also gonna, at 6, you also get key empowered strikes. Your unarmed strike count as magical for the purpose of overcoming resistance and immunities. I loved that, and you will see why that's so more important with the subclass build as well. 7th level, you get evasion, so that's just gonna be more of dexterity, being able to stay alive in combat. 7th level, stillness of mind, so you don't get charmed or frightened. Doesn't have anything to do with the subclass, but it's nice to have. At level 10, your mastery of the flow makes you immune to disease and poison. Great to have. Doesn't have anything to do with the subclass. Silver Tongue, or Tongue of the Sun and Moon. You basically can spend key points and speak and hear basically any language.
Sure.
Totally awesome. Nothing to do with my subclass. Diamond Soul, your mastery of ki grants you proficiency in all saving throws. Not really part of my subclass, but based on the lore and what my subclass does, they go hand in hand beautifully. So it's not so much tied to it.
That's actually very fair. That's actually very fair.
Diamond Soul. Also additional, whenever you make a saving throw and you fail, you can spend a key point to reroll it and make a second attempt, or take a second result. So again, nothing to really do directly with my subclass, but Diamond Soul is one to remember as we go through about why that's important, why having those proficiency saving, or those mastery of saving throws, or it basically for example, your mastery of ki grants you proficiency in all saving throws. So you don't do much with it, but it's beneficial for what my subclass will do. The lore kind of ties in with the control of your body.
Right.
I'll just say that. Timeless Body at 15. Your ki sustains you that you suffer none of the frailty of old age. You cannot be aged magically. You can still die of old age, but you no longer need food or water. So that's also not directly related to, but goes in mind with the whole controlling one's body. We'll get into that. It helps the lore even more so with the build. And then you get Empty Body at the 18th level. You can use your action to spend 4 key points and become invisible for 1 minute. You have resistance to all damage but force damage. Doesn't have anything to do with mine, but still cool.
Very cool.
And Perfect Self at level 20. When you roll initiative, you have no key points remaining. You regain 4 key points. Has nothing to do with it, but believe me, you're going to want those key points no matter what. So that's your basic monk. The 2 things that you really got to keep in mind outside of getting the key points are going to be the extra attack, the Stunning Strike, I should say, Fury of Blows, Extra Attack, Stunning Strike, and Diamond Soul. Those are the 4 we really want to keep in mind in terms of how they are going to be most synergistic. All the other ones are great to have as a monk. Doesn't really matter anyway. But these 4 are going to be the ones that are the most synergistic that you'll want to keep in mind.
Okay.
Because Fury of Blows is one that we proc off of. The Stunning Strike, you guys will see that named several times in my build. And then Diamond Soul and Empty Body, Timeless Body, all of that just goes along with being able to control.
Okay.
All right. So here we go at level 3. So at this point, you've gotten your key points. You got your unarmored defense. And yeah, and then deflect missiles. So now we also get, for this subclass, for the Pressure Point Monk, we get Vital Strike.
Vital Strike. Okay.
Your study of pressure points grants you unparalleled insight into the flow of life energy. When you damage a creature with an unarmed strike, you can spend 1 key point to hinder their vitality. The target's speed is reduced by a fraction of its maximum movement, 1/4 for every 5 levels. So you reduce it at 1/4 at 3rd, 1/2 at 8th, 3/4 at 13th, and it nullifies their speed at 18th level.
Interesting.
Until the start of your next turn.
So
until the start of your next turn. So if you hit someone who hasn't moved yet, you have hindered their movement for their turn. This also procs on opportunity attacks. So you could, if level 18, you essentially act like you have Sentinel.
Sure.
Just knock all of their speed to 0. Or you attack someone, say a very fast creature, at level 8, and you knock their entire speed they haven't even used yet to 3/4. Or 13th level.
Read how it's worded again when it comes to the levels and the percentage.
So the target speed is reduced by a fraction of its maximum movement, basically 1/4 every 5 levels. So you're starting
1/4 for every 5 levels.
Yeah, and you're starting at level 3. So at level 3, it reduces their maximum speed by 1/4.
Okay.
At 8th level, by 1/2.
Okay.
By 13th level, 3/4. And at 18th level, you nullify their speed until the end of their next turn.
Okay. So a traditional 30-foot movement at 3rd level, how much is that taken away?
1/4. So half of 15. So 6.
So you're rounding down on that one. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, whatever squares. I'm just thinking squares. So, well, 30 feet is...
So 6 would be closer to 5 feet.
Or yeah. So like you reduce 5 feet. Yeah.
A 5-foot square. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, and then, but it grow again. We always love things that grow with you.
Sure.
And this is just one of those things where I feel like that's I feel like by level 18, you should be able to just stop moving them. But it takes you. That's a great work up to the capstone. But I don't think that but I think that this should be something that.
So on that same vein, at the 75%, that means they only have 5 left.
If they only had 30, yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
And that's not counting for what they've already used. So if they've already, like again, if someone was dashing
and you caught them mid-move,
yeah, you could knock out 3/4 of their max, not their left. Remember, because we talked about this last time. It's what's left over till the end of their movement. So it's almost like you're inflicting pain to an extent that cuts off whatever their maximum was. It's like it's relative to their maximum instead of relative to what's remaining. If that makes more sense.
Interesting.
So it's a different approach. I wanted to make it a little bit different than what we've talked about before.
Okay.
What do you guys think? Chat? Okay, and then I have one more part. Additionally, okay, so that was against the enemy, right?
Okay.
So when you strike a creature, basically when you hit or damage, you have to damage him, right? You have to hit him. So when you damage a creature, you can then spend a key point, and it will reduce their movement until the start of your next turn, I should say. Sorry, I missaid that. Start of your next turn.
Okay. Because that helps a lot, because otherwise there are some people it just wouldn't affect.
Yeah. So no. So it's the start of your next turn.
Got
so
you.
Whether or not they're already moving, it also works on opportunity attacks. And then additionally, your mastery of your own vital energy strengthens your resilience. When making Constitution saving throws, you may add 1 to your roll for every key point spent. So whenever you make a Constitution saving throw, you can spend any number of key points and add that to your roll. It's the idea of
Oh,
you're
so
using
they have to be
pressure points.
unused. Okay,
but
when I heard that, it sounded
just
like
however many you had.
no, however many I've already used. So if I just did flurry of blows on somebody, that's a key point spent. That means from this point forward,
you have to use it, because my idea is like because here's why I have a list of reasons, because I had to look up like what I wanted to affect, and my Constitution makes the most sense, but I wanted to make sure that saving throws are vital. But there's a lot of Constitution saving throws, and a lot of it makes sense. And so when you are in control of your own pressure points, you can stop things from affecting you for temporary or long term. So when I looked up all the things that Constitution saving throw follows, it made the most sense to be able to be like, oh nope, that poison's not going to get me, right? Oh, you shot me with a poison dagger. Oh, I'm just going to stop the blood flow until I can like suck out the poison. Like those kind of concepts of, if you can control your own vital flow, you can sway the effects of things that would attack you. So
interesting.
This is that slightly out of combat, but I could have gone maybe a step further.
Okay, no, I see that.
I really liked this one. Again, at level 3, I wanted to define what we're doing here. So it's not super powerful to be able to slow someone, but with already what you can do with Fury of Blows and everything, this is basically saying at any point, so this could be worked with Fury of Blows, you just have to have done damage and have a free key point, and then you just reduce their movement. And in reverse, you can spend a key point to protect yourself, specifically with Constitution saving throws. I felt that was a beautiful balance because it didn't do too much, but it gave you both sides, both a combat, they're both technically for combat, but you know what I mean? Like a combat.
How many key points do you have at this point?
At level 3? At level 3, you will have 3.
Okay.
So at this point, at this level, you would be able to either reduce 3 different enemies by a percentage, or you'd be able to save yourself up to 3 points of a Constitution saving throw. Not a lot, but it could just be the difference between you failing and saving. You know what I mean? And it will grow with you. It will grow as long as you have key points. So again, it's one of those things that it becomes better. It's not a catch-all, but again, better not out of combat. It's actually a better non-combat, because you don't want to spend key points in combat for a saving throw. But like out of combat, a trap goes off, it may be worth doing it to just do a short rest to get him back.
I like that you get him back on a short rest. I'm torn, because the only thing that I feel like I might have done differently is changed how that works, because I might have done something like you get advantage on Constitution saving throws.
That could work too.
And maybe you have to spend a key point to get advantage.
And then that's all. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't mind that either. I just wanted it to be more of Constitution made the most sense.
But I like the fact that you can, the way you're describing it, it's almost like you could do it in response.
Yes, all of this is in response. This is all like the idea of this is you being affected and you being able to use your energy almost as a reaction, basically. So again, whenever you're doing a saving throw, you don't have to do it before you know the number. You can make your Constitution saving throw, and if you failed by 1, key point and you're good. That's the idea behind it. It's not meant to be a savior. It's not meant to be one of those things where you get to re-roll a failure. But as you get stronger,
so I can see that
it gets. But at the early stages, it's only there to get you just over that threshold. Because again, you're still new at this, right? You can't save yourself from death, but you can put yourself in a better position than anybody else.
Do you consider a death saving throw a Constitution saving throw?
No. Okay. That is a death saving throw.
Okay, just making sure.
But like, okay, so some of the examples that I came up with, poison and disease, maintaining concentration is usually a Constitution saving throw.
It is.
So I think, again, if you're multi-classing,
as a spellcaster,
that could be awesome.
That would be very cool.
Surviving exhaustion conditions.
How do you mean?
If you have levels of exhaustion, usually there's a Constitution saving throw involved with that.
Oh, to get a level of exhaustion?
Or are you
talking about to remove a level of exhaustion?
I can't remember which one it was, but there was something I read where you something with exhaustion, and what did I read?
I feel like there might be some effects that give you a level of exhaustion that give you a Constitution saving throw to prevent that from happening.
Maybe that's what I meant. So the idea of preventing exhaustion with Constitution, I thought that's what I read.
Okay.
Again, I don't use exhaustion.
Sure.
So I don't. Really
no, that's good.
I know some magical effects, so some spells and things like that require Constitution saving throws.
Anything cold damage related is usually Constitution saving throw.
Physical strain. So I know sometimes if you're trying to exert yourself, it'll be a Constitution if it's not a dexterity. So because you have to strain yourself. Paralysis and stun.
Yeah.
So stun was going to be a really big one. You'll see why in a minute. And then like surviving deadly blows, like if you like the ones where if you get so much damage, you have to make a saving throw or you actually die or pass out. It would also be basically being able to like fortify yourself against something like that. So
alcohol too.
Yeah, so not a lot, but situationally, there's a lot of situations. So each one of those is very situational, but there's enough of them where over a campaign, it would be nice to be able to turn the tide just a little bit. And there are plenty of other races and subclasses that give you small bonuses to certain things that I feel like Constitution's kind of an underloved one. And I feel like
very much so.
I feel like that was my way. So again, not necessarily the best, but as we go along, I think you'll see why I kind of wanted that to be my direction.
Okay.
But again, so I don't disagree with your idea of advantage. And I personally think hearing that now, I think the general community would agree advantage would be the standard. I think most people would expect 1 key point for just advantage on Constitution saving throws. I think my idea of adding it, being an additive is a holdover more of my older style of gameplay where modifications were small and impactful instead of now where you're likely to have a +6 already to your Constitution saving throw. So what's a +1, +2? You might as well get advantage.
Gotcha.
I think that's the mindset, right? Because you already are intended to have more mods. A 1 or 2 isn't as impactful in 5th edition as it used to be in 2nd edition.
Right.
So you might have something there. I'm curious if Chad agrees with that conclusion, but I think you might have something there that as a 5th edition rule set, it's more impactful as advantage. I think the 1 at a time is much more of an AD&D older benefit because there won't be as many mods. But in 5th edition, if you have a +10, what's a +1?
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like if everything else you have gives you a +10, what's the likelihood you're only going to miss by 1?
Right.
Well, maybe. I mean, maybe, if you have a +10, maybe you're more likely to only miss by. That's what I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what maybe I don't know. I don't really know how that works as often enough. Hecate says, interesting. He says it's interesting that I chose movement. I wanted movement because, again, there's not a lot of things that affect movement. And I like the idea that the pressure point is just doing something that lingers with them. You know what I mean? Like whether it's like a Charlie horse,
right?
Or a cramp, or some kind of thing that just like even just like a small paralysis where like one leg goes like asleep.
Yeah,
just some kind of like ideology.
I would say I would not have even been mad at giving somebody some choices here. Meaning like you could have like said you could do the speed, or you could do something with their attack, give them disadvantage on their next attack or something like that.
And that's where I mentioned to you, I didn't want to go complicated. I was trying to be concise.
Sure.
I do think there is room. Like, this is definitely not the end all be all, but I was also trying to look at it from like level 3. Starting out, Monk gives you a pretty cool skill set, but I wanted to set the tone. So I definitely think, I'm curious if Chad agrees with you. Hecate also says, personally would want more than just to slow them down. That's fair. But again, I'm thinking when you're slowing them down, especially for a monk, getting them into your range, then you have your Fury of Blows. You have other things that will compound the idea that you're trying to get them in a melee zone.
This specifically when you use your Flurry of Blows?
No, this is just anytime you do damage. If you do damage to them
with an unarmed strike,
you can just proc this.
Okay.
So it's opportunity attacks. It's during Fury of Blows, during a regular attack.
And I have to spend a key point every time I want to do it?
Just, one key point procs the speed reduction. So again, I could definitely see more options. I just didn't want to be too complicated.
Maybe if you were to do something like when you use your Flurry of Blows, any of your strikes can have this effect.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that later.
Okay.
Because I did think
just
about
because,
that. I just didn't want it this early. You just got Fury of Blows. You just got this. I didn't want to do compounding stacking.
I like being able to do this multiple times. Like, put it this way, like to Hecate's point, I feels like I would want to do more than just be able to slow them down. But if I got to slow multiple people down, I think that would be a super cool like strategy. It's like, okay, boom, now 3 of you have lost 5.
Fury of Blows can only be on one target. Like an original Fury of Blows can only be on one target. It's not until later that you can do it to different targets. I don't think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Fury of Blows.
I don't recall that.
I'm pretty sure Fury of Blows is only against one target. I may have read it wrong.
Let me check, but
where is Fury of Blows?
yeah, as far as I know, what is it, base?
Oh, it's down here. Immediately after you take the attack action on your turn, you can spend 1 key point to make 2 unarmed strikes as a bonus action. So it doesn't specify against a single target.
Right.
I just looked at that as a Fury of Blows. So right after you've made an attack, you're basically following it up on the same guy with a Fury of Blows. So I say that implies a single target, but most people don't care about what the implication is. They just say if it doesn't state it.
Well, I would say even as a martial artist, if I'm doing a flurry of blows, especially if I'm engaged by multiple people, I'd say there's a reasonable chance that I can do that many attacks to different targets.
Because the only thing is, like, the only other reason why I would say that leads me to believe it is when you also go to where is it? Which one was it?
I mean, you get extra attack. I know you get more regular strikes.
Oh no. It was under one of the other ones. That's the problem. Is I think one of the other
was it the open hand? Because the open hand is the only one that really...
Yeah, because when you read open hand, it makes it imply that the original Fury of Blows is only against one creature. Because
when you read their capstone?
Well, because when you look at Way of the Open Hand, right, it says that Way of the Open Hand, where is it? Arm strike, you can... No, that's the Vibrations one. No, which one was I reading?
You said it was Kensai. Oh, it could have been the drunken one.
Is it the drunken one? Yes. So at 17th level, when you gain the ability to make an overwhelming number of attacks against a group of enemies, when you use your flurry of blows, you can make up to 3 additional attacks, up to a total of 5 Fury of Blows, provided that each Fury of Blows attack targets a different creature. So that
one is specifying it has to. That's like a limitation on it.
But when I heard that, I kind of think that those extra attacks of Fury of Blows was all directed at one target, right? And again, the rules don't say Fury of Blows has to target a person, but I do believe that the implication is there, and I'd be really curious to know if the originators had that in mind and then took it away to make it more open. But I feel like Fury of Blows personally feels like it should be more something that procs on the same target.
I mean, I guess I see why you're saying that.
I don't really look at it as a multi-attack. I look at it as just a forward advance. You know what I mean?
I mean, I guess, but I feel like there's a lot of different ways to do a flurry of blows. And if you're looking at it from a very specific perspective, one person could do that. But I also think you could do a lot of other things too, which is why they wrote it the way they did. So they gave you the opportunity to, if you want to do it all in one target, by all means, do the advancing attack, or
I think
do it a different.
The rules definitely don't specify it. I just don't necessarily think I agree that that's the best way it should have been implied. But I again, it's one of those things where that's what 5th edition's more about, is abuse of it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because again, basically,
I find that hard to abuse.
Because I look at it as you're getting 2 extra attacks, right?
Sure.
But if you let it be on multiple people, that's basically having a multi-attack with 3 hits. Most multi-attacks are only 2 hits, right? Like most enemies that have multi-attack is usually 2 hits. But Fury of Blows is 3 hits up to 3 targets.
But you just look at a fighter, and that's what a martial artist is all about, because their damage die isn't really high.
But I mean, how long does it take a fighter to get 3 attacks?
I mean,
they don't get their extra attack until level 4.
True,
right?
But the extra attacks that you're getting are strictly unarmed strikes. And at this level, what's your damage die for these unarmed strikes? It's not very high. So like when you're looking at the balancing of what you're getting like, because those fighters, those are all like main attacks. So like I could use a great sword and be doing 2d6, or I could use a great axe and be doing a d12 of damage with those 3. Whereas these 3 right now, I think at best I'm getting a d4. No, maybe it's a d6 at 3rd level, but
I still think that
it's a significantly decrease.
But that's the different approach of balancing, right? I look at those kind of rules as like, it makes the most sense that would be focused on the same target. And I think that's why, again, more of like the way the Drunken Master kind of worded it that way is to kind of make it be applicable, but again, it's how you want to read the rules and how you want to apply them. Like, it doesn't specifically state a single target, so there's no argument I can make officially.
No, yeah,
it doesn't officially state anything.
For me, unofficially, like, to me, it makes a lot of sense to be able to pick and choose, especially as a martial artist. Like, you are good at attacking, redirecting, and again, this 6 seconds, like, everything's happening all at once. It's not just like, oh, I'm just fighting this person, or oh, I'm just like, I can do all kinds of stuff in this point in time. And so if I am using my key points to be able to increase the amount of attacks that I'm able to do, it would make so much sense that I can use those attacks to attack, redirect anybody that's coming my way. Like that is one of the things I had to do when I was training to get my black belt, is we had to do 2-on-1 and eventually 3-on-1 sparring. Right. And so a lot of what you're doing is having to learn how to defend yourself. Like, your opponents want to flank you. They want to get on either side of you. So you have to focus on more than one target at a time. But, you know, what you want to do is you want to get as much focus as you can. But that's not always applicable. So learning how to change and twist and redirect.
I don't disagree, but I wouldn't. Again, my interpretation of what a fury of blows is versus a calculated multiple attack, I find those as two things that are separate. I feel like that's just where, when I look at how other classes get additional attacks on different targets, I feel like this one feels imbalanced. But like you said, one makes the argument that the balance is in the damage output. It is less than what you would call a standard attack. But my argument is it's still a standard attack for a monk. It's not a reduced attack just because their general output is reduced. I don't necessarily believe that that's enough.
I say that argument would be, a lot of people could say the same thing about the rogue sneak attack, right? Because they get, normally when they're doing that, it's like a dagger or like a rapier at best.
It's something to finesse, right?
It's got to be a finesse weapon, right? So, and those are usually lesser damage. So having the boost of like 6d6 or 3d6 or like all the extra sneak attack damage, like, I feel like that's why it balances out. Like, you can't get sneak attack on a greatsword. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, you're not going to get all that greatsword damage plus sneak attack, right?
But I could use the same argument for why it should only be, why I believe it's against one character, because again, you're putting all of that extra damage into an attack that doesn't already do, like you already said, enough damage as a standard attack. So, like I said, I think the argument can be made both ways. I don't think there's a winning here. There is no winning in this argument. It's just more of a, it's more of, we don't know what the original intention was, because that could have been written 4 different ways before it went publication. You know what I mean? Like,
sure,
when it comes to 5th edition, there's no way to know how many renditions it went through beforehand. So their implication maybe was the mindset it should be everybody. You know, like I said, I wouldn't take it away from a player who wants to do it, because the rules don't explicitly say you can't. So I wouldn't necessarily rule that a player couldn't. I just don't know if I agree with it.
Okay.
Like, as a general rule of thumb, I don't know if I would agree with that implementation, but I wouldn't take it away from a player.
Okay.
Because unfortunately, with stuff like that, it's really hard to make in-game rules, like rulings, against something that's that vague. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I think I think about it as a lightweight rules lawyer perspective. Like, if I'm gonna like go to, what does the book say? I'm gonna be like, you can make 2 extra attacks, and that's all it says. So that means you can make your attacks on whatever you want to make your attacks on. Like,
based on,
you know, like that's like, and when it comes to, I feel like Wizards of the Coast at the very least has done a decent enough job at, when they want to intend to do something, they state it in a way that it's hard to misinterpret. Like, there are a lot of times where you do have all of these you know, Crawford rulings and all these other situations, but I feel like over the years they have done a from my perspective, decent enough job. Like, I like using a lot of the verbiage and the terminology, the inclusive and exclusive language that they have to specifically say certain things. So like, I feel like if that was something that they found was valuable to do, like this rogue sneak attack, it's only on the one attack, you only get to do it on this one person, it's specifically designated, I feel like that would be easy enough to do here. you know, and that it wouldn't necessarily take away from anything except for if they felt like it wasn't balanced. So that's my only perspective on that. You're right. We don't know how whatever they went through, but
I mean, rules is written again. It doesn't limit you. So I mean, there's really that is how the rule is. It
and which is why I brought up the fact. Which is why I brought up the fact that I feel like it would be valuable to be able to use this in that way. Like I feel like that would make this feel like a chunkier third level ability, like a third level ability that I would want to use. Like I would specifically go out of my way to do this with my key points so that I could get this effect. More so than I would if it was just once.
Right. And I agree with you. I just don't think that level 3 is the right time to do it. Which you'll see is where I added in later.
Sure. Yeah. But that's why I feel like level 3 is wanting. We'll just put it that way.
That's fair. I mean, Chad also thinks that there's a little bit more than just dealing with speed, but that's fair.
Okay.
That's fair. All right. So level 6, because after this one, you're gonna get your extra attack and your stunning strike at level 5.
Yep.
But before and then you're also gonna get your empowered strikes. So you're overcoming resistances.
What level is that?
That's level 6.
Level 6, okay.
Yeah, so level 5, you're getting your stunning strike, your extra attack, and then at level 6, you're getting your empowered strike, so you can overcome magical resistance and immunities.
Dope.
So with that, you also get Flurry of Precision at level 6.
Precision, okay.
Your attacks flow seamlessly, making it nearly impossible for your foes to resist your onslaught. When you use Fury of Blows, one of your unarmed strikes can attempt a stunning strike without spending additional key points.
That's sick.
Because you got stunning strike last round, so you've had a whole level to use.
That's sick.
But now when you use stunning or when you use Flurry of Blows, because it's already bursting a key point, you don't have to burst another key point to do a stunning strike.
I like that it's only once. And it's not every because I didn't want you to like stun strike everything. But the fact is just one of those strikes. You can and they still have to save out of it. It's still a save. But I feel like that is
so powerful.
That's very well put. That's very well implemented, and I feel like here feels perfect.
Because if you look at the other ones, right, like I was mentioning before, like Kensai at level 6 procs off of that's the immunity to your weapons. Drunken Way. Or was this one the open hand? Maybe none of these were the ones. I know there was another one that early on it like procced off of your other abilities. Like there was a couple other monk subclasses that procced off of either Fury of Blows or Step of the Wind. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to find a way to bring out something that the monk actually does and make it still feel good with pressure points. And I feel like blending those two made the most sense because that's really what it is, right? You're hitting someone a bunch of times.
Yeah.
But one of those is so focused. It's almost like a sleight of hand attack. You're almost using sleight of hand and not
lightweight
that you like
lightweight. Yeah.
Them.
No,
so I feel like that
feels perfect.
Chat, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that that's worth spend or just at level 6? It's nothing else big. It's not huge. I mean, level 6 isn't really big for most monks, but just really being able to, because you're always using your Flurry of Blows.
But key point economy is huge for monks. Like that's
things in one.
And that and stunning strike is one of the ones people want to use the most, especially because it fails so often. Right? Like monks want to use it all the time and they think it's so cool, but I cannot tell you how many times that actually goes off when you're a monk. Oh, I want to use this. And they usually keep burning through their key points. So getting one free per round, if you use your Flurry of Blows, I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. And the fact is like, again, you have an extra attack. So you can make a Fury of Blows attack, throw in stunning strike. And if it misses, proc your second attack and do stunning strike regularly. And you're still only going to proc the 2 key points for this. So you basically get 2 for 1 in that case, right? It's not just a freebie, but if you use your 2 attacks for stunning strike a second time, you basically got 2 chances in one. So it's or like have an advantage, right?
Right.
However you want to put it, that's kind of how I felt. I'm glad that you're down with that one because I felt like that one was a really good midpoint.
That feels perfect.
Because now you're able to slow an enemy down, and now you're able to put them in front of you. And then you're able to not only slow them down, but now you can stun them. I was trying to look at like, how does this unfold as the combat's going? How do all of these work towards the same end goal, right? Battlefield economy, trying to slow.
I mean,
enemies down.
I will say, once you're stunned, your speed becomes 0. So like,
Well, exactly. So
just regardless, you're.
But yeah, that's why like the first ability was to slow someone down to get them within striking range of you, and then now you can start using your inferior blows and your stunning strike to keep them there. So like that was my idea.
So you said to get them within striking range?
Well, because again, like the my first ability, the vital strike, slowing them down, especially if it procs off of like opportunity attacks. The idea is that's getting stronger to keep them within range of you, so you can stun them to then be able to keep them in your zone. And now, if you think about it, stunning strike only requires that you hit the enemy. Then you can proc a key point, right? If you proc a key point to do vital strike, or technically you could, I mean, you don't have to, but you could use vital strike as a secondary, right? If you were to proc a key point for stunning strike and they save out, you could technically pop one for vital strike and still slow them.
Oh, and they were to like save out.
So it's a backup, okay? Because they're all reactionary. It's all basic, it's all built on reactionary. So that was my mindset, is like, it still works. Even if you don't get this full stun on, you still could slow them if you want it.
Real quick, just so I'm clear, for vital strike, I have to spend a key point on top of whatever. So like,
as long as you damage them,
do damage to them.
The key point is just to slow them down. It's like basically putting in energy to slow their movement to make that Charlie horse.
And so
happen.
at third level, that is on a creature that moves 30 feet. That is 5 feet.
Yeah, it would be 5 feet in that particular case. But by 6th level, okay, so you're not doing it half until 8th level. But I know that, it's not a lot right now yet. But it's the idea of, as it stacks, all of these things. Yeah, hopefully keep you in the same mindset of trying to control the enemy a little bit more.
Okay.
At least that's where my mindset was.
Okay.
So between 6th and 11th, you're going to get your evasion, stillness of mind, and purity of body.
Okay.
So most of these aren't really going to affect what we're doing, but they are just going to give you more control on the battlefield.
Right.
Frightened, immune to disease, and the evasion, basically like AoE stuff. You get better chances of getting out of like AoE attacks.
Right.
So kind of along the way of the movement, right?
Love it.
And then so at 11th level, we get empowered strike. Actually, is that already the name? Oh yeah, we already have empowered strike.
Key empowered strikes, but
okay, so this one would have to be changed for the name. So your strikes become a devastating confluence of power and control, delivering unparalleled force precisely where it will hurt most. As a bonus action, you can channel a surge of ki into your next attack, spending any number of key points to add 1d8 damage per key point to a single unarmed strike. This attack counts as a stunning strike and a vital strike. Basically, it will slow the target if they save out of their stun.
Okay.
So you hit them with this, you pump 3 key points into it, that's 3d8 extra damage on top of the strike. And they have to save out of the stun.
You automatically get the other things.
They automatically have to save out of the stun, and if they save, they'll automatically proc the vital strike anyway, and their movement's slowed regardless.
Interesting.
So it's that cascading effect of, you're able to do all of this with less and less. Like, you're getting all of your bonuses the more you can use them with less key.
Right.
So every time you get a new ability, you kind of don't have to spend more key to do the others. So you're almost able to do everything all the time as you get more powerful. That's, again, part of the reason why I keep trying to like conglomerate these together, is
right.
They're supposed to be this cascade of the more powerful you get. One hit just could devastate someone depending on what happens. That you could make them have all this damage. That could make them go down. You could make them stunned and they can't move. Or at least, if anything, they're going to falter in whatever it is that they were doing.
Right.
And the fact that because you can do this, it's a bonus action. So it's a bonus action, you can decide to do this. So your bonus action, that means your opportunity attack. If someone's leaving and you use your reaction as an opportunity attack, and then you bust your bonus action to throw in key points.
Well, so opportunity attacks are often done when it's not your turn. And usually if you
action
theoretically, like, as a DM, if you hadn't used your bonus action on your turn, I might let you.
Like if you just held it, like if you held a bonus action.
If you held it or just didn't have anything to use it on. But as a monk, you're almost always going to, Big Dungeon, welcome.
Appreciate you 5 months in a row.
Thank you.
It's good to see you. So you're right. That may not have been like the right mentality to think about it. But yeah, I do like the idea of just adding it as a bonus action that you can just, so again, instead of it, being a main action, this is, again, I like the idea of this being reactionary kind of usage.
So is this like in place of your flurry of blows? Because flurry of blows would have to be done as a bonus action, so you wouldn't be able to do a flurry of blows as well. So there's a single strike.
Because it's like because you are, and you also have multiple strikes, right? So you could do one strike with regular, and then another strike that you would pump this in.
So you would have your attack action, which you have your 2 attack
and Fury of
strikes.
Blows is 3 strikes at let's say 1d6. This is up to as many strikes at up to 1 with 1d8, but up to as many as you have key points for.
Interesting.
So it is replacing Fury of Blows, but it's kind of like its own Fury of Blows, except it's 1 hit, not 5.
But it is also a lot more expensive. So like in Flurry of Blows, you get multiple strikes for 1 key point.
Yes.
This one, you're spending key points for every single additional die of damage.
Right. It is expensive, but I was trying to feel out how much damage would make the most sense for this class. Because again, this isn't a damage output type of class, but I wanted to make it still feel like this was going to be something you wanted to do in combat. Like, when would an extra D8 of damage be really good to throw out there, as well as being able to stun them in that moment, right?
I do think that.
And again, you don't have to do multiples, right? You can just do it for the stun, which means every single time you hit someone, bonus action stun them, bonus action stun. Like, so this basically makes your stunning strike a bonus action. It basically turns stunning strike into a bonus action.
Stunning strike is a free action theoretically, because you can just add it on to any strike you do.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. So this is basically making stunning strike have damage, like, or because stunning strike. It's basically just giving stunning strike having damage. Is all it really is.
Yeah, and it's like, because you're spending your key points on the damage, right? And then you get stunning strike for free and
as a
vital
backup,
strike for free, right?
Yeah.
So like that is value. Because you're getting that stunning strike where you possibly wouldn't have otherwise if you're just spending it on.
Stunning strike feels like something you always want. You always want to get stunning strike out there.
For sure.
So I was trying to add yet another way to sink it in a bit.
I feel like reducing the number of strikes almost a little bit goes away from what we're doing. Meaning like, oh, I'm going to have this one super powerful punch, rather than I'm going to be very precise and very particular about what I'm doing and where I'm going, whether it be quick, fast, or whatever the case may be. Like, I might even like to maybe go a different direction than damage. Like, you might have this somewhere else, but potentially like a disarming strike where I can like take their weapon away. Like I hit their arm, like maybe I like disable them. Like, you can't take the attack action for the next 1d4 turns or something like that.
I thought about it. I thought about it. I just, by the time I got here, I wanted to do something with damage though.
Sure.
Just because it is still a fighting class and we have been doing a lot of enemy control. Mm-hmm. So I did want to at least throw in the flavor of being able to feel like, you have the empowerment, right? It's key. You're able to focus all of that into a really like dastardly strike, right? So, I mean, I could even see at level 11, I mean, I could even potentially see that being like a 2d8 or even a 2d6 per key point spent. Make it a little bit more spicy, a little bit more enticing, but not uber powerful nuke.
Sure.
But I want to make it worth every time you pump in a new point, because again, it only takes. I wanted the stunning strike and the vital strike to proc on just one. I guaranteed one, because then that means that you could just do it every turn. I kind of wanted this to be something that you could proc on every turn, every enemy. Just get this bonus point, get some extra damage, and get the stunning strike off.
What do you think would happen is if instead of doing it this way, where you are basically making it a bonus action and replacing your flurry of blows, if you just turned this empowered strike into another version of stunning strike, you're basically upgrading stunning strike itself. So you can proc this anytime you do any unarmed strike. So if I'm using my main attack action, I can proc this and I can dump as many key points as I want into it. It's doing the exact same thing when it comes to key point economy, which is really where the the limitation of this goes, but it also gives you the flexibility to not have to use your bonus action, because again, one of the biggest advantages of being a monk is getting to do so many attacks, just like one of the biggest advantages of being a fighter is getting to do so many attacks, right? Because fighters don't get a lot of other features, but monks, their damage is lower, but you get so many attacks and you get so many opportunities and so many attack rolls, right?
So how about how about this then? Let's rewrite it as this. So because this one was called Stunning Strike, Empowered Strikes. We'll have to come up with a new one. But what if it said this? So your strikes become more devastating, delivering unparalleled force precisely where it hurts the most. How about part 1? It's going to be multiple parts. Right? So part 1, whenever you activate Fury of Blows, all unarmed strikes become stunning strikes. Boom, that's part 1. So anytime you proc Fury of Blows for free, all of those hits become stunning strikes. Makes you fucking devastating as hell. Then, second part to that, when you do when you successfully stun. How about this? Yeah. So part 1, when you use Fury of Blows, all attacks become stunning strikes. Second part, when you successfully stun or when the enemy fails a saving throw and is stunned, you can spend a key point to do an extra D8 of damage to that to any target that fails. So 1 key point, and everybody that got stunned in that Fury of Blows gets an extra D8.
Right, so if you so if I did a bunch of different attacks on a bunch of different people and stunned like 4 of them,
1 key point,
and everybody gets an extra D8 of damage.
Like you basically infused them a little bit with energy, and then it like popped. Again, like that would even make sense for my next one. So I kind of like that. Is part 1, Fury of Blows becomes all stunning strikes, and any failed save on a stunning strike, you can give an extra D8 of damage per key point spent. Because that will even read as anytime you do normal stunning strikes, you could do that too.
That first bit is crazy powerful.
Too powerful for 11?
I would say it's not too powerful if you put a cap on it. Okay. Meaning like you can do this wisdom number modifier of times, proficiency modifier number of times. Like you can
so Constitution. Let's keep it with Constitution.
Sure. Sure.
So can you rewrite that for me? Can you
give me a sec, let me make some notes.
So your strike becomes a devastating confluence of power and control, delivering unparalleled force precisely where it hurts the most. We'll leave that. Right after that, we'll delete everything and we'll just say when you activate Fury of Blows, your unarmed strikes become
automatically have
what brain
stunning strike.
Yes, so your unarmed strikes have stunning strike automatically. Additionally, any target that fails their save, for any target that failed their save, you can spend 1 key point to do an how would we write that? How do you
I can find a way to word it.
Yeah, but basically just 1 key point deals 1 D8 of damage for anyone that saved it. So it's 1 key point and all of them get damaged once. So if you do 2 key points, they all take 2d8. That's how it has to.
Sure.
It's 1 key point, because you're absolutely right. Key points are very good economy. This has to be one of those things where you don't want to blow them all in one attack. You want to be able to kind of like feed this out.
Yeah. So are you thinking you can only pump 1 key point in there?
Do you think it should be limited to just a single key point?
I think I would limit it, but I don't think it needs to be limited at 1. Like I think how about if we switch it, because I do like the idea of being able to grow how many times you can do this over time. So if you attached how many times you can do it to your proficiency bonus and then attached how many
key points equal to your Constitution modifier?
Yes.
Okay, that's how it will read then. Yes. So it'll read, whenever you activate Fury Blows, your unarmed strikes become stunning strikes.
Yes.
Done. Second part, any enemy that fails a save, or no. We were doing
any enemy that is stunned this way.
Yeah, any enemy stunned this way can take an additional D8 of damage for any key point spent up to a maximum equal to your Constitution modifier.
Yes, that.
There. And then you can even do like D&D does, where we put an example. If 3 enemies are stunned and 2 key points are spent, all 3 enemies will take 2d8 extra damage.
I do like that.
We can just put in an example. Like that. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
One
Okay.
key point for every extra d8 for every enemy. I know we don't want to just type it out that way.
Gotcha.
Quick example of 3 enemies stunned, 2 key points spent equals 2d8 against 3 different enemies. Like 2d8, 2d8. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I like that. Yeah, perfect. I like that. I like that a lot better because you can see where I was going.
Very much so. And I like what that is.
We wanted the damage out there. So I really like the idea that being able to make all of them stunning strikes makes you so much more devastating. I mean, you're like you said, especially with those who want to use Fury of Blows with multiple targets, stuns, like just stunning people left and right would just make you like key. You could just run around the battlefield stopping enemies left and right, and then your team can just come in with extra damage. And then being able to pump that every now and again with an extra key point for some extra damage. Because again, you don't even need Vital Strike at that point. Vital Strike is just kind of there as a starter kit, for, I will say Vital Strike was mainly an idea for how to better improve opportunity attacks. It was primarily there for opportunity attacks, but it also is good to just stop someone before they even start moving, right?
Sure.
The fact that it's at the start of your next turn, they're slowed, I felt was just kind of like, that's kind of cool. I kind of like that idea, but I see why it feels lacking. But I'm hoping that the build is starting to come together a little bit more.
No, I definitely like the direction it's going. I think you could start it. I'm not 100% sure with what yet. I think you could start it with either like a different or a tweak to what Vital Strike looks like. So
because I did want to, again, this was 15 minutes and now I have a lot more to think about. I'll sleep on it. I do think I might add just a little bit more, but we'll have to see where that goes. Once we're done with the end, we'll have to kind of, I think it can be improved. Now, again, after 15 minutes, I knew this wasn't going to be perfect, but
no, for sure. But this is phenomenal. Like, I love the flow that we're seeing here. I love the direction that we're going with a lot of this.
I do think we are improving it though, especially with the second empowered check. We got to come up with a better name. I don't know why that, Fury. What about, because we have Flurry of Precision.
Call it Furious Strike. Especially because it's specifically being procced on your Flurry of Blows. So Flurry and Fury kind of, yeah, I don't know, maybe it's a little cheeky, but
yeah. We'll have to come up with something. Yeah. All right, cool. I like how we're going with that one too. And again, level 11 is just basically an improvement of level 6, because level 6 let you have one of your Flurry of Blows strikes a stun. And then at level 11, all of your Flurry of Blows strikes are stunned. But then you also get to add damage to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I actually think that's a really good progression, even more so. Because it's still focusing on your primary monk ability, but it's still focused on what this class can do. All right, so now we get to the capstone, because since then we get evasion, purity of body, which makes you immune to disease. You get to speak any other language. You get bonuses to all your saving throws, and you don't have to eat or drink. You don't age. So that's basically, nothing that we're going to bother with. So now we finally get to the capstone of this ability called Damage Delay.
Oh, I like that name.
Damage, but
I like that name.
Yeah. So here we go with level 17. You have mastered the flow of energies within living beings and have gained 2 abilities that exemplify your mastery over energy flow. 2 abilities.
All right.
Bolster Vitality. When you spend key points, you may grant yourself or an ally 1d10 temporary hit points for each key point spent. This ability allows you to sustain life in the heat of battle.
Okay.
So again, it's kind of like fucking with their energy to just basically be like, no, you're not going to bleed out right now. So
sure.
The idea is give your any, because by this point you have a ton of, because by level 17 you should have 17 key points. So that's 170 temp HP. You could just go.
Well, so are you saying you can do it for however many key points you spend?
I kind of wanted, again,
when you spend a key point, you can grant your, okay.
When you spend key points, yeah. And it's just any number. So the idea is it's just 10 temp HP because it's going to go away. So again, it's not healing. It's just keeping you alive.
I would say the only thing I would really say to this is you'd have, if you're to be able to do it to an ally, they have to be within melee of you.
No,
you got to.
It's touch. It has to be touch.
Okay.
The whole point is, yeah.
So I'd add that wording in there.
Yeah.
But
when you touch, how about when you spend a number of P points, you may grant when you touch yourself or an ally, you can grant yourself. You can grant them. Sure. Yeah. So I'm totally fine with that. We can put the touch. The whole point was not meant to be ranged. This is all 100%. Again, it's a pressure point. I have to be able to get to that pressure point. But the point was not to be a healer. The point was meant to be I need to survive. I need to hold on a little bit longer, or you need to hold on.
Right.
Not take death saving throws until you can get a spell off or drink your potion. This was just meant to keep somebody up. And the fact is again, with 17 key points at that point, you could be running around the battlefield just giving people temp HP here and there just to keep the battle going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wanted to finally also give a little bit more of that support character without really taking away, because you know how sometimes, you sit in a subclass where they'll get a cool ability, but it doesn't really fit with anything.
Yeah.
We've been focusing so much on the enemy that you finally realize that you don't have to always damage people. You can actually do it for good.
Sure.
And that's kind of why I wanted this capstone of you or an ally, because it doesn't make much sense to only do it to yourself. So I kind of wanted to just add this in, and this could be out of game. Like, this could be like someone's about to die and you need information. No. Like, out of game,
interesting.
I could make him survive, right? I can make him not die because I can give him temp HP and we can keep him alive longer, right? There could be out of game text for that.
Interesting.
This is what I mean. I could have worded this better.
Would you say if you give somebody temp HP,
as an ally,
and
that
if you give somebody temp HP that is down, that they would come back up? Or would this have
I think you have to. I think for me,
they would have to be
HP,
before they get
to
zero.
One. You have to have one.
Okay.
It's preventing you from dying.
Okay.
If anything, I think if you ever at 0 and you give them temp HP, they'll be unconscious but not making death saves. Maybe you could argue that.
Okay.
Because it's not real life. It's just.
I don't mind that.
It's kind of like chest compressions with someone who had a heart attack or something. You know what I mean? It's keeping them alive, but it's not life.
Mm-hmm.
Or doing CPR basically.
Yeah.
So I really liked this one. Just spend your key points.
I like that. It's super
again,
simple, straightforward.
I really thought this one was the best unbridled. Like at this point, don't make it a cap. Don't make them a limit. Just at this point, if you want to put 10 HP, if you want to give someone 100 if you want to go walk up to the paladin who's almost down and go, there's 100 HP, get the fuck out there, brother. Do it. You know what I mean? If you want to go up to the wizard and be like, nah, you ain't down, sister, and then just pump them and be like, get out there and do power.
You just have to roll the D10.
Yeah, you just have to roll the D10.
Well, you have to roll it however many times. So if you put 10 in there, I'm rolling 10 D10. So it could be 100.
Could be 100.
But could it also only be 10?
Yeah. And we could also argue it could just be a flat 10. Maybe it doesn't have to be a roll. I kind of like the roll concept because, again, it's not a perfect science. It's not magic. It's affecting your body, and your body may not work perfect. People's hearts can be on the opposite side. Maybe I didn't hit the nerve right. Maybe you're wearing armor. Maybe you're too muscly and I can't get to the nerve. Maybe I hurt you because you're not muscly enough and I hit a nerve and I hurt. Like, I like the idea that it doesn't have to be perfect.
I do like the roll. I think the roll works. Again, however many you put in, 10d10 is still a lot. Like, there's some 9th level spells that are 10d10, or you know what I mean?
Right.
And so if there's a chance you could do 10 damage on that, then there's a chance that you could.
And the fact that
that's fine.
It's temp. It's going to go away. It's not real healing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just meant to either keep the battle along or, again, out of combat, you might be able to do something fun. So I'm glad you like that one. I was really happy with that one.
No, that's good.
The last one we have is called Damned Flow. Not damned as in like being damned, but damned as in damming up. Because we mentioned before in the description, I got this inspiration in the description for like flowing like a river.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, and this is the one that if we go to Way of the Open Hand, at 17th level, you have the lethal vibrations. You can hit a creature with an unarmed strike. You can spend 3 key points to start these vibrations that last for a number of days equal to your monk level. So you can just hit someone and then put energy into them for days. And then whenever you choose, you can activate them. They make a constitution saving throw. If they fail, they go to 0 hit points. And if they succeed, they take 10d10 damage. So that's Way of the Open Hand. I started reading that. I'm like, oh, that's awfully similar to what I was thinking, but I didn't quite do exactly that. But remember, I didn't read that until after I created mine. So bear with me here.
Sure.
But Damned Flow, you can delay the additional damage from an attack infused with ki. When you deal damage using Empowered Strike, which in my version was being able to infuse it with 1d8 extra damage.
Sure.
So when using that, when infusing the strike with that extra damage, you can choose to store the energy within your target instead of dealing the damage immediately. So, normally, again, before you could do 3 key and then give him 3d8. In this particular case, you can choose not to give him 3d8 right now and just shove the energy inside of him.
Okay.
Right? So you're just holding it there. This stored energy remains within the target for a number of rounds equal to your proficiency modifier. So rounds instead of days.
Okay.
I rewrote that after I read the other one because I'm like, that sounds better.
So is round in this situation because
like full initiative round, like back to start of end of turn type of round.
Okay.
So this will be, if your proficiency is 6, it'll be 6 until the 6th end of your turn. At the end of the final round, or as a reaction, you may release the stored energy. The target takes the delayed damage and suffers disadvantage on saving throws until the end of their next turn. If the target is making any, so that's only saving throws. But if the target is making any attack roll, saving throw, or ability check when this reaction is initiated, that roll is now at disadvantage.
Interesting.
So essentially, this is like it's the monk's version of counterspell. So because as a reaction, you can just go proc. So if someone's about to do, like, let's say your buddy's about to get hit by the BBEG and the BBG crits. Proc, take 1d8 damage and re-roll that bitch.
Right.
That's the idea, is it's meant to tackle the saving throws till the end of their next turn so everybody can kind of dogpile.
Right.
But it's also meant to be able to be that counter to a devastating spell. If they cast a spell, nope, re-roll, you don't have to concentrate. Or if they have concentration, nope, your concentration's down because you took damage. You're in the middle of a spell and it's an attack roll, nope, you're at disadvantage. Like, the idea is you can either just get them at disadvantage on saving throws, or it's primarily meant to disrupt them. It's meant to wait for your monk to just be like, nope, I'm going to wait until you need to do something. And then out of nowhere, you're going to get hit with damage and you're going to fuck up whatever you were doing.
Interesting.
That's the point. The point is the reaction.
I do like what this is doing. I feel like it might be a little hard to tie to Empowered Strike, because that means that they have to have been stunned.
Yes.
And you had to have chosen to put that extra damage in there. Otherwise, you're not storing anything.
Right.
I think
there's a little bit of a complication there for sure.
Which is fine. But I think it could have a very similar or same effect if you do something to the effect of, where it's like, okay, anytime I do damage to an enemy, and maybe this is too much, but anytime I do damage to an enemy, I can choose to store that damage instead. And then just like it comes out the same way you're describing, but it's just like,
instead of it being tied to we've already changed the Empowered Strike. We decided that should be a little bit different anyway.
But even still, even with the changed version, they'd still have to be stunned and they'd still have to be affected. And so it's like, what if there's an enemy that's immune to being stunned? Then you can never use this on them.
That's true.
Right?
Yep.
And so if I want to be able to, like, anybody I can damage right now, and I got magical strikes, anybody I can damage, I can do this to. That feels like a capstone I can use.
And that's kind of what the intent was, is I kind of wanted it to be not just something that just happens every time you hit someone, but something intentional that you plant on them. Just, I'm going to decide, that's going to be put aside.
Right.
So how about this? So what if we change it to whenever you use your Empower Strike? Let's remove the Empowered Strike, and let's say when you deal damage, you can select any damned flow. So when you deal damage, you can choose to not roll any number of damage die.
Oh, and like save them for later?
Just so if you get if your attack rolls a 1d6, but if your attack rolls a 3d8, you can choose any number of the damage die to not roll. You do whatever damage. I don't know how we're gonna write this, but basically,
sure.
You choose. So whenever you do damage, you can choose not to roll any number of damage die. At a future point, you can then, as a reaction, roll those damage die. And as this it basically reads the same exact way.
I like keeping it as just a reaction.
And damage, and I like the idea of just changing it to a damage die, because it depends on if my damage is doing 2d4, then I can only save up to 2d4. If I do 1d6, I get 1d6. But by this level, if I'm doing Fury of Blows and I get 3 strikes on and you're like, okay, do me 3 damage. I'm like, I'm going to hold 2 of those dice back for my Fury of Blows.
I also might like to see this last a little bit longer, like maybe for a minute or maybe for even an hour. I think that would be kind of cool. Yeah. Like imagine if you go up to somebody and you like you're not in combat with and you do Flurry of Blows on them, but you withhold all your damage die. And they're like, did you just hit me? Oh no, I was just, giving you a little massage.
You spill on them and then you take a napkin. You're like, oh, I'm sorry.
Exactly. Like if you do a decent sleight of hand check, you might be able to disguise your attacks as something else. And then all of a sudden they just feel the effect. That would be a really cool out of combat use.
How about instead of whenever you deal damage, again, let's just keep it flowing with the rest of it. Whenever you use Fury of Blows, you can choose to hold, or you can choose to not roll any number of damage die
on any of your unarmed strikes.
On any unarmed strikes, and instead put that in. So do we still need the damage to proc, or is it more of a just we want to be able to, as a reaction, imply disadvantage? Which is more important? Not doing the do we need the damage to come back, or is it more of we're sacrificing the damage for
I would say I need the damage to proc. Like I feel like without that, like that's a lot of damage I'm missing out on.
Yeah, the reaction isn't enough.
And especially because like, okay, I'm still in combat with you. Like theoretically, if I'm going to realistically use this in combat, I'm still in combat with you. I still want you to go down. It's not like I want that damage to disappear.
That's true.
Like I want to be.
And the reaction isn't always enough to. Okay, so let's reload. So you can. Okay, so you can delay additional damage. Okay, so infuse with Kage. When you do. Okay, so I don't know if I want to keep requiring it to be on Fury of Blows, or if this should just be any attack period. That's where I think the next question is really going to be.
So far, the trend has been when you use Flurry of Blows, right? They cost 1 key point to use Flurry of Blows. It's like, hey, I'm doing something.
But all of your other abilities get to get stacked with that.
Right, as long as you're doing a bunch of unarmed strikes. So like theoretically,
and that would actually do good because like you said, if you're doing it on a single person, you get all of those dice. And if you're doing it on multiple people, you can hold dice on multiple people. So yeah, no, so maybe it should be on Fury of Blows, because then also it will guarantee that you get to hold back the most amount of die, because most of the time you might only be doing 1 die per hit. And that doesn't feel good to only hold off on 1 die.
Sure.
So it really, okay. So what if we reworded it as, you can delay additional damage from attacks infused with Ki. When you use Fury of Blows, you may choose to not roll any number of die.
Any number of damage
against any number of enemies. Right?
I'd say
or against
any number of damage die dealt by your unarmed strikes. I feel like that should cover it.
Yes, you can hold. Yeah, you can choose not to roll any damage die dealt by your unarmed strikes,
storing that damage in their body to trigger at a later point in time.
Right. Yeah. Dice not rolled this way are stored within the target until you choose to use a reaction. Now the question is,
I love this mechanic. I love this storing mechanic.
Now the question is though, is it all at once, or can you choose one at a time? Like if I do 3 different enemies, do I have to proc them all at once, or can I choose that enemy now, that enemy now, that enemy later? Because you know what I mean? Like the whole point is to be able to be more like a counter spell, but is it too powerful to basically just, I mean, if I have 17 and I'm just walking around town going, you know what I mean? I could eventually, if it all at once, I can only reaction against 1 person, but if I could reaction all the time, so I'm having to.
I'll say the way this is worded right now,
like I kind of like the all at once, because if you
I do too,
because if you do it 1 at a time, then someone will be like, well, I put 3 into them, but I'm only going to proc 1 right now.
No. I'd say 1 person, not 1 damage die.
Yeah, I was thinking just period all at once. Like if I tag 3 people, but he's about to do a spell and I tag it on him to make disadvantage, all of them proc. That's kind of what I was thinking. I feel like that makes.
I do like that. That's also what I was thinking, but if we were to do it 1 at a time, it wouldn't be each individual damage die.
Target. It would be each
target.
Yes. But I still feel like each target might be a little more.
Yeah, I feel like there are too many opportunities for people to like try and do something stupid with it. But I do kind of like the idea that you can like make people drop like flies. But I think there should be a disadvantage to it, which is why I was talking about key points. Because right now, this doesn't use any of your key points necessarily.
Except for the Flurry of Blows.
So what if in order to pop it, every time you wanted to trigger the damage in an individual, you had to spend a key point to do that. So if you do it all at once, you're only using one key point. But if you do it individually, you're using individual key points. You know, so it's gonna cost you at least a little bit to do it that way. So it'll cost you resources, so it's less enticing to do it like that, but it still gives you the ability to if you find enough value in it.
Interesting. I do agree with the amount of time. If we're going to change it up, I do agree. Maybe an hour is fine. I think an hour works for a lot of situations.
Sure.
Or even an hour equal to like your proficiency modifier. Then that way you get some more role play out of it. So it's up to 6 hours. I think that's more than enough.
Yeah. It doesn't need to be days or anything crazy like that. But like being able to just like, hey, you know, I'm dealing with this dude, and if I ever need to, I can drop him to his knees because I've got a bunch
just
of
stop him doing what he's about to do, right? Like stop him.
Imagine you like posed as a masseuse and gave this dude a massage and just like use like half your key points just on flurry of blows while you're massaging him to like do all this and store up all this damage.
Interesting.
That would be kind of wild. Or even the idea that you do this to like 6 enemies, right? Over the course of combat in a minute, right? And then none of them have taken a lot of damage, and the BBEG thinks that he's got you surrounded, and all of a sudden you just stand here and you do one of those moves and just boom, everybody drops.
Okay.
Because you know they've got enough damage to get them all.
I now know how it needs to read. Damned flow. Okay, so you can delay the damage from an attack infused with key. When you use Fury of Blows, you can choose to delay rolling the damage dice on any number of targets.
Okay.
If you do so, or any damage, or basically
any number of damage die on.
So you can choose to. So it's not just like if I get 2 damage die against you, I'm gonna hold back 1. It's just when you use Fear of Blows, you can choose not to roll damage against a target.
Okay.
Delay rolling that damage. So if I hit 3 targets, I can choose any number of them to just not roll the damage against right now.
Got you. I like that.
As a reaction, and it reads the same thing. This. Okay. So when you use Fury of Blows, you can choose to. Okay. So when you use Fury of Blows, you may choose not. No. No, we need to tie it back to the delay. When you use Fury of Blows, you can choose to delay rolling damage dice against any target. That identifies that regardless of how much damage you've done to a target, it's all or nothing. You either do the damage or you don't do the damage, right? So when you use Fury of Blows, you can choose to delay rolling damage against any number of targets. This energy remains with the target for a number of hours equal to your proficiency modifier.
I do like that. This
and then
at 17th level, is that already a 6?
Should be, yeah.
Okay, then you maxed out like from the jump. But okay.
Or we can even add that more. I mean, if people want it more, then like it could be 4 hours forever. I don't know what. I mean, this could be a DM thing.
At this point, this might be another good reason to attach it to your constitution.
Oh yeah. So how about this store energy remains within the target for a number of days equal to your constitution modifier. I mean, because again, at that point, who the fuck cares? At that point, I mean, that's role play only. That has nothing to do with combat at 3 days.
Yeah.
So we'll just say a number of days equal to your constitution modifier. Done.
Okay.
It's up to a couple of days. It's not weeks. It's not part of the big plot where, I infused him years ago. No, it's all about the plot right now. So this energy is stored within the target for a number of days equal to your constitution modifier. At the end of the last day, or as a reaction, you may release the stored energy. The target takes you then roll the damage. Like the target takes the roll damage.
Mm-hmm.
Or at the end of the final day, or as a reaction, you may release the stored energy and roll the damage dice. The target takes the damage and suffers disadvantage on saving throws until the end of their next turn. If the target is making any attack roll, saving throw, or ability check when this reaction is initiated, that roll is now at disadvantage. So same thing, just all we're changing is that it's Fury of Blows, it's any damage that would have been dealt to a target is delayed, and now we're just adding days instead of rounds or turns. And it does all the same thing. So you can either just
had a thought.
they just
Where did
take
it
it,
go?
or you can stop them from doing something and deal damage to them.
And so the attack roll, ability check, and saving throw is still a disadvantage if
they're doing it when you do the reaction.
if the reaction is in response to X, Y, and Z.
But other than that, to the end of their next turn, it's just saving throws. Just saving throws.
Oh, okay.
So they still have. So yeah. So no matter what, they will.
But is that all saving throws?
Yeah. So when the target takes the delayed damage and suffers disadvantage on saving throws until the end of their next turn.
Okay.
Additionally, if the target is making an attack, saving throw, or ability check at the time of proc, that roll is at disadvantage. So again, it's meant to be a one-time reactionary counterspell or counteraction, but otherwise their whole extra turn is lacking saving throws, which is the dogpile mentality. That's why the monk gets this off, and then he just says, like, wizard, throw your best spell at him. His saving throws are disadvantage. Like, the whole point is everyone just throw what you got on him because he's at a weakened state.
Right.
And he's not going to be able to react. That was my idea, is primarily reaction, but also that long-lived, like, everybody just dogpile. We have one round to just throw everything we got at him because he's weakened. Like, to me, that's that unintended
Would it be
support
too
character.
strong to also remove their reaction? To also say you don't get to take a reaction?
The enemy?
The enemy. It's just for the one turn. Because I mean, it falls along the lines of what you're talking about. Like, it's not that they're stunned necessarily,
But it's
but
almost
like,
like they're stunned. It's basically like being stunned.
I mean, put it this way, I don't think it's lacking when we word it this way,
Right.
but I think,
It wouldn't be overpowered to just add in that they also can't take reactions.
and it would make a lot of sense, and it would work really well, and you know, it would feel like a.
So wait, what's the regular condition that basically means you have because there's a condition where it's like you have disadvantage on attacks, you have advantages against you, and you have disadvantages on saving throws.
That's a condition.
Which condition is that? Because then we could just say that this inflicts that condition. Is that hindered? No, not hindered. Is that it's not stunned.
It's not stunned. Stunned says you're incapacitated, you can't move, you can't speak. Yeah, so that one's a little bit more. You attack rolls against you have advantage, and you automatically fail strength and dexterity saving. That's stunned.
Yeah, that's
Incapacitated is you can't take reactions, so at the very least, I think you should be incapacitated.
okay.
But there is gotta be restrained.
I think that's the one I was thinking.
Restrained. Your speed becomes 0. You have disadvantage on attack rolls. Attack rolls against you have advantage, and you have disadvantage on dexterity saving throws. It's a lot to make your speed 0.
Yeah. I think I just like the idea of I think I like the idea of disadvantage on saving throws, and I think I just like the idea. Let's just do incapacitated, because that's just reaction. So, and the target becomes incapacitated.
That's perfect.
So
Yeah,
yeah, we'll
because
just-
that'll say the exact same thing.
Yeah. Okay. So that's how damned flow will work. Is whenever you make Fury of Blows, you can choose to delay rolling damage die against any number of targets. That energy is stored within the target for a number of days equal to your Constitution modifier. At the end of the last day, or as a reaction, you may release the stored energy. The target takes the delayed damage and suffers disadvantage on saving throws and is incapacitated until the end of their next turn. If they were making an attack roll, saving throw, or ability check when this reaction is initiated, or when this damage is taken, I should say. Just when this damage is taken, that roll is also made at disadvantage. That's how it will read. That'll be the new one. Hecate says they definitely went on a different path on this one. That's fine. But yeah, no, I think that reads a lot better. I think it still gets across what I wanted to do, but I think that's a lot cleaner.
Right. Take damage. Disadvantage on all saves.
Yeah, disadvantage on all saving throws, and are incapacitated to the end of their next turn. And I like incapacitated because that doesn't mean that they can't move and they can't attack on their next turn. It just means that they're so distracted by whatever, think about a Charlie horse.
Mhm.
It's not like you can't do shit. It's just that is going to be on your mind, and everything will take second to whatever the hell's going on to your leg or your back. I mean, if you've ever had a muscle give out on you or just clench in the middle of something, there is no everything else is going on. That the only thing you can really think of is what the hell is going on to that muscle. But okay, I think that. So how do you feel about both of those, like, for the capstone of being able to do the temp HP, but also be able to do this to an enemy? Does it feel like those two have the same essence behind them? The idea that you're either hindering or like essentially enabling the flow?
I love the fact that both of them feel like damage delay applies to them. That's what I was really hoping for. Very much so.
Because either you're delaying damage that you're doing, or you're delaying damage that they've taken.
Yes,
that's the whole. That was my mindset.
I like that a lot. I don't think either of them are overpowered. I don't even think using them in tandem is overpowered.
Like you said, it's all about key economy. The fact that you still, I mean, you have 17 key points, which is a lot, but do you want to blow that on temporary HP for anyone? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's still.
Did we decide if when you do this, it's all at once, or if it's if when you're releasing this damage, it's per person, or if it's everyone you've done this to, they all get it?
I like the idea that you don't get to choose if you've delayed it. It's kind of like you just go, everything I've delayed goes off now. I don't think you should be able to. I delayed you, so you go off, and then I delayed you, you go off. Because that's like, again, wizards usually only get however many counter spells they can prepare.
Sure.
You shouldn't. I mean, again, when you can do Fury of Blows, 3 times? Remember that one ability gives you, and as long as it's on different opponents. So if you could get 12 people, 9 people with this,
and if it lasts for this many days, you can keep storing it up.
And I wouldn't want that. I would want that you can store it for that long, but once you proc it, all of them proc. So however we need to tie that into where, at the final round or at the final day, or as a reaction, you may release the stored energy. When doing so, all delayed damages release. Just that's all we have to do is all delayed damages release when this goes off. Because that even also solves the min-maxing of it. Let's say it's day 1 and I put it on somebody, and then day 2 I put it on somebody else. Doesn't matter. If you use the reaction, all of them go off. Now, granted, if day 1 goes off 3 days later, day 2 won't. Day 2 still has another day.
Yeah.
But your reaction will set them all off. It's kind of like it's like timed mines, or remote mines, but they're all in the same remote. So they'll go off on their own timer.
But if you pop it, you pop it all.
Yeah, they don't have individual radio signals. It's one remote or a timer, and that's it. And I like that though, because for RP purposes, you know what I mean? Like if you have a really cool intricate group, you could have guys that are like, okay, that guard, he should be going down in the next 10 minutes. And then we're going to go past him. And then once we get into the kitchen, the head chef will go down. You know what I mean? Like if you could properly time it out to where you could just walk through an area and guys are just dropping or having damage done. And they're just like, oh, I feel bad. Like I got that guy. He's going to feel like his stomach's cramping. So he's going to those are the kind of things that I feel like where you as a DM and a player, I'm giving the basics, but where this damage happens, again, being able to be like, hey, I can delay damage. Can I delay it in his hand? So when it does it, can I drop it? I would love that kind of creativity where people where you were saying, can I hone where I'm doing this? I would be totally okay with that. I just felt like it would be very complicated to try to add in verbiage that says you can decide limbs and you can disarm, or you could do this, or you could.
I do get that.
I feel like that was too harsh, but I do feel any DM and player could look at this and go, wait, does that mean that if I use this on his arm, I can make his arm not useful? There's room for that. I just didn't know how to add it in the time frame that I wrote this up.
Fair enough.
I mean, it wasn't even like I tried to force myself to write this up in 15 minutes. It's just by the time I got through it all, I was very happy with what I had. And was just, I wanted to get it out here.
Got it.
So what do you all think? I think at the end of the day, what did we really change? I think Vital Strike, I'm going to sleep on it. I do think that we need to do a little bit more with Vital Strike.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of being able to affect their speed. I think that's good. I think the idea of being able to bolster your own constitution score is really good as well. But I do think it could add a third, because a lot of the times your level 3 gives you a third ability as well.
So I'll say this. When we did, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. When we did what was it called? The Stalker, the Echo Stalker, right? I feel like our level 3 ability, we're still using it in the end. And I feel like a lot of what we were doing was built around that. And like, I feel like a lot of subclasses that have that feel so
No, you're right. You're
complete.
Right. This one didn't really stay with you as much.
And like what you do when you get to 6th and 11th is great. I just think that you can do that exact same thing by building on your first ability in a different way, right? You know, even if it just, instead of saying it does anything to their movement, you say it just gives them disadvantage on either their next attack, or kind of like the Barbarian, on every attack until the start of your next turn. Like, and again, maybe that's a lot, maybe it's not, but you're really only doing it. Is that something you can do to multiple people, or is that just the one person?
The vital. It's anytime you do damage. The whole point was anytime you do damage, you can just inflict this.
Then I would say one your next attack. Like, so anybody you do that to, like, you just give them to, like, that would feel like I'm using it, right? That would feel like I've got something I'm doing. It's just one attack. It's nothing crazy. Maybe when you get in higher levels, like this one gets bigger when you get to higher levels, maybe you can say your next attack. Maybe at higher levels, it'll be like 2 attacks. And then maybe at the highest level, it's all attacks, right? Like something like that. Like, but just being able to stop their movement, because even in using your scenario, if I'm engaged with somebody and they run away from me and I get an opportunity attack, they haven't used any of their movement and all they're doing is stopping 5 feet. Like, I still gonna have to chase after them. It's more likely that I'll catch them.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
And again, the idea was more of you're stopping them from doing whatever their goal was, getting to your ally or whatever that was. So yeah, no, that does make a whole lot of sense. I'm trying to think of like other things too, because I mean, I don't mind. I do like the idea of fucking with their speed. You know,
I don't mind that either, yeah.
But I do think that it should do maybe like a little bit more than that as well, because, you know, yeah.
If you were to say they could do it to multiple targets, what level do you think? Because earlier when I brought that up, you said you think that would be too much at level 3. Like, what level do you think that would be effective, especially with how everything else is scaling?
Yeah, it's hard to put into terms when you only have 4 sub.
Sure.
Like 4
actual.
I mean, realistically, I would put that. I would probably add 2 more abilities to the subclass if I were really trying to.
You put it in between like 3rd and 6th?
Yeah, probably like a 4th or 5th ability, even the 7th levels. Maybe I mean, that might be a little bit too late, but maybe push 6th to 7th and then bring that into the 6th level. But I would add more to this. But yeah, I think that when it comes down to it, I think that maybe Vital Strike's too expensive. Because before that, you're really only using your key points for attacking, dodging, or disengaging, right? Like that's the only real time, like right now by level 3, the only time you're really going to be using those is for Fury of Blows or Sever the Wind or anything else like that. So, so what if we just clean this up instead of trying to make the movement, because you're right, like doing movement is a little bit difficult and it can be a little bit confusing at times to scale that. So what if Vital Strike was just whenever you damage a creature with an unarmed strike, you can use a key point to hinder their vitality. The target speed, the max speed is reduced by half. So again, it's not what's left, It's the total. So if they've already used half, it's gone.
Sure.
Right? So whenever you use a key point, you can just reduce them by half. It's not a heck of a lot, but it's still something. But additionally, what it will also do is so to go along with like our capstone, like you said, like trying to like watch it grow until the capstone reduces their speed by half, and we could do something like they have disadvantage on saving throws until the start of your next turn instead of the end of their next turn. So it's like you hit them, you reduce their movement, and now until the start of their next turn, just basically until it's their turn again, they have disadvantages on saving throws.
Okay.
Would that be good? I mean, because again, level 3 doesn't feel too powerful. It's still very supportive. It's still asking your teammates to kind of basically get in on the action.
I even like, because there's a couple like first level spells that when you do it, it's like the next attack has advantage on them, or I even like, it doesn't even have to be like, especially at 3rd level, it can just be the next saving throw they make is at disadvantage. It doesn't have to be until the start of their next turn, but if you make it the next saving throw, then it doesn't feel wasted if their turn is next.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So
right,
like if I can get at least one out of them,
and
at 3rd
it goes
level,
along with like the delay kind of like.
Sure, exactly.
So what if it said you reduce their speed by half and they have disadvantage on their next saving throw? This lasts until like, should we put in something that if you target somebody else, like, do you just get to keep stacking it? Or at level
you can
3...
even say their next saving throw before the start of your next turn, even if you just say it like that.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that's fine too, because it's like kind of like shield. It goes up, increases your AC a whole bunch until the start of your next turn. So like even if you only have that turn window,
right, you just don't want it to proc right if they're about to go next. Okay,
yeah.
So that's fine. So yeah, so speed is reduced by half, and they have disadvantage on saving throws until the start of your next.
Their next saving throw before the start of your next turn.
Yeah.
So if nobody makes them make a saving throw, then it's gone. But you had time to do that.
But what is the difference between their next saving throw versus they have disadvantage on saving throws until the start of your next turn?
Because if 5 people make them make saving throws and they have disadvantage on 5 saving throws.
Oh, gotcha. So you're just saying only
at 3rd level, I think that's too much.
Gotcha.
So,
I see what you're saying. Yeah, too much dogpiling. The capstone's good for that because the capstone's basically he's weakened for a while.
Yes.
This is he's weakened once.
And again, like you said, it's building. So you one saving throw until the start of your next turn versus as many saving throws as you can give him until the start of your next turn.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, so half their speed and their next saving throw until the start of your next turn. I like that. I still like being able to adjust your constitution saving throw by a key point per roll, or like a key point per.
I'm not mad at that.
Because again, even when you have 17 later down the road, it may be worth it to spend 4 and
bump you up.
Yeah. So I think that's fine. I think we can still do a 3rd option here. And I think this 3rd option needs to go also back to the capstone. I think the 3rd option here needs to be able to be more of that support character with allies. Something to where, like the capstone is that you can give people temp HP, right? I don't really want to give people I don't want to do a whole bunch of bonuses to rolls because we already have guidance, we already have inspiration. But what if to the start of your next turn you could either give, I don't want to give advantage because advantage doesn't really make sense for this, but what if you could either give an ally or yourself advantage on their next saving throw, or and maybe not, but I'm trying to think or this might be too much, but what if your pressure points, what if you could, until the start of your next turn, bump 1 stat of yourself or an ally using a key point? You can spend 1 key point to bump 1 stat 1 point until the start of your next turn. I think that would probably be too difficult to really be useful.
It could really work.
It would be too much calculation to figure out when and where that would work.
It could work, but I feel like it slightly kind of takes us away, because unless it's strictly your physical stats, strength, dexterity, or constitution, any mental stat I feel like that'd be hard to.
No, it totally doesn't make sense. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of like, because the capstone brings it back to you can do something with your allies. Right now, all I can do is save myself and hinder an enemy, but I do think that we need to show off a little bit of.
I mean, even
of how you can be supportive with your allies.
Even we have the enemy speed. We could increase our allies' speed. Like, it's something with the allies. It's nothing crazy. Also,
because I'm trying to think of like, in terms of like pressure point, like what we're doing to the enemies, what could we what could we flip? Because we're taking enemies speed.
You could give them a
because yeah, it capstone's at temp HP.
I would say, what if you gave them like your you could add, they can add your constitution modifier to their next damage roll. There are other classes that do something similar, where like with the paladin, you can add the paladin's charisma modifier to your saving throws, or like different things like that. So adding your constitution to maybe their next attack. I like damage because it's like empowering their strikes a little bit, or something like that.
Would it be too much to say that you can use a key point? So a third option, you can use a key point to empower one ally. So not yourself, but empower one ally with extra damage. Basically, yeah. So I don't know how we'd write that, but what if it was your and their modifiers? Like your constitution plus their constitution modifier, because I feel like your constitution modifier at best could be what, 5?
Yeah, but especially at 3rd level, that's gonna be a lot.
But I'm thinking about for like later down the road, it's just gonna be one of those, are we ever gonna really use that again? Versus if it's the combined effect, it's still kind of, you know what I mean? Like or maybe it's like, is your level too much? Like could you add your level in damage? Like, damage, so you can empower an ally to allow them to do damage extra damage equal to your level,
equal to your monk level.
I mean, hell, at that point you could even say equal to your combined levels, because then you could have some real fun RP. Meet a 20th level fighter, that, you know what I mean? But at that point, at 18th level, you're both 18. Now you're actually giving them some real good damage output, right? Because even at level 18 damage isn't a lot when you're level 18, but 36, that sounds a little better. 36 damage, actually, that's what, 66 right there? That feels like a good empowerment. That's roughly equivalent to 66 damage.
I might not be mad at both your levels, but
so yeah,
at 5th level is,
and it's only one. You can only do this. You can't like just 5 key points 5 times our levels. It's right. You can spend 1 key point on one ally and give their next attack extra damage equal to your combined levels. You can even say their next successful attack.
Yeah. If would you say this would be before the start of your next turn and then it goes away, or is it your next successful attack period? Because it would suck to have them attack.
What if you can use this power a number of times equal to your constitution modifier? So you could have up to your constitution modifier of allies imbued with this that proc on their next attack. So you could do that to like 3 people and they all proc.
I don't mind that.
Like having up to and then it's basically just like,
yeah,
until a short rest. It lasts until you rest. Or something like that, right? Or just,
I would say, yeah, it would last until you rest. That's fair enough. You're out of combat. You're not really doing anything anymore. If when you do this, they don't hit another attack until the end of combat, like that sucks. But I wouldn't say that you would feel like your ability was wasted. I'd say that you'd feel like they had a really bad combat.
Oh yeah,
right. So I'm not mad at that.
So let's add that then. So okay, so the first part, you can spend a key point when you do damage. You can spend a key point to have their movement, and until the start of your next turn, they have disadvantage on their next saving throw. That's option 1. I think that feels better. Okay, so Vital Strike. Your study of pressure points grants you unparalleled insight to the enemies. When you damage a creature with an unarmed strike, you can spend a key point to hinder their vitality. this target speed is reduced by half.
Okay.
And they have disadvantage on their next saving throw until the start of your next turn. Or until the start of your next turn, they have a disadvantage on their next saving throw. However, whichever order makes the most sense. Second part. Your mastery of your own vital energy strengthens your resilience. When making Constitution saving throws, you may add 1 to your roll for every key point spent.
So that one's exactly the same?
Yeah, I think that one should just be as is. And then a third bullet. Something along the lines of like, you know, you've learned to increase the energies within allies, or, you know, increase energies and vitalize your allies. Something like that, like some kind of legs. But essentially the third option is you can spend 1 key point per ally, or you can spend 1 key point to imbue an ally with extra damage on, or...
So I will say this. I feel like this should specifically take the place of one of your unarmed strikes. Because if you're doing this in the middle of combat, what's the action economy?
I'd say it would be like, because I mean, what's the action economy of guidance or inspiration?
Action. An entire action.
So same thing. As an action, you can imbue an ally with 1 key point.
That would mean you can't do flurry of blows that turn, because you have to take the attack action to use flurry of blows. So
I don't mind that though, because again, this is imbuing them with something over the attack, and it can be done before combat. So
I mean, sure. I the only reason I'd say that is because, especially what you're doing, right? You're affecting the nervous system, and I like the idea that I could also throw out an attack at one of my allies and basically do what I'm doing to them as one of my strikes. So and keep doing what I'm doing. But I feel like,
I don't know. For me,
I'm not mad at it either way.
Parallel at least the other ones, because it is kind of parallel to guidance and inspiration. So I kind of feel like it would make the most sense to parallel.
Is that the same with the capstone as well? For the temporary hit points?
I would say that would have to be as an action, yeah. Most vitality as an action.
So that again,
because it's just like any other healing or any other spell.
Sure.
It's an action. And again, this is a pretty powerful one. So I would say that both would require an action. I feel like that's because again, not everything can be in the mix of it.
And I'm honestly okay with that. I definitely did want to specify whether if that's what we're trying to do or not. But
I feel like an action on this particular one, because it's not really combat oriented. It's well, it is, but it's more like preparatory. I'm okay with, as an action, you can imbue an ally with 1 key point. And until your next short rest, their next successful attack does additional damage equal to your combined character levels.
So traditionally, anything that's tied to level coming from a class or subclass is associated with that class's level. So it's like, not according to your monk level, that would be really hard to do for the other person. But you could say, so like, say if you wanted to multi-class, it's not going to be as powerful coming from you because you're not that high of a level of monk,
right? As
it would be if somebody who was like a 20th level. So
gotcha.
You know, could be their character level, but your monk level. You know, so but that would be kind of hard to word. So it's up to you. If you want to just straight up character level, like again, the damage that you're doing is not going to be affected like that dramatically by that change.
Yeah.
You know, because especially if you end up getting to 17th level, but you cut it off there and then you got 3 levels and something. It's 3 points. It's not the end of the world, you know.
I see what you're saying is, I think most people would expect it to say your monk level, but I don't know. I think character level gives it the best chance of doing something actually spectacular. So I don't mind it just being total level, and if people have a problem with that, I guess that'll be up to the audience. But okay,
like a homebrew adjustment.
Yeah. So okay. So you can imbue as an action. You can imbue. Oh, up at this as an action. You can imbue any number of allies up to your Constitution modifier with a single key point. So basically, just we're putting in the words. You don't have to do this as 3 different actions. You can just do it as one action to the whole party, or one at a time. How about that? So as an action, you can imbue any number of your party members that are within reach, or within.
I kind of like having to spend one on each.
Okay, so as an action, you can imbue one party member with 1 key point. Until you take a short rest, their next successful attack has additional damage equal to your character levels, to your combined character levels. That'd be the easiest way to say it. If we think that that's
okay.
Now, maybe it doesn't have to be tied to the character levels. Maybe it's what if it's okay? Perfect, because you said that monks normally do about 1d6 damage.
Well, it increases over time, but at this level, yes. It's either 1d4 or 1d6. There, on your monk thing, it should have a martial arts die that increases with you. Table martial arts die. So until 4th level, you're rocking a d4 for your unarmed strikes.
Okay.
At 5th level, you get a d6.
So since you're messing with them, right? You're messing with their abilities. So what if it was, as an action, you can imbue 1 ally with 1 key point. Until your short rest, because it doesn't necessarily have to proc on the next successful attack, right? It could just be something that maybe would they be able to choose when it happens, or is it just something that that they don't have control?
Honestly, I feel like it would just come out of them.
Okay,
it would be like that thing.
Next successful attack. But what if it's, instead of like calculating all these other things, right? It's 1 key point, 1 ally, till a short rest. Their next successful attack adds their Constitution modifier, adds a number of so adds their put this. Basically, I'm trying to say, like, whatever damage die they're doing, add that many damage die equal to their Constitution modifier. Because what you're doing is you're bringing something out of them that they couldn't do.
Yes, but imagine they're a barbarian and they got a +4 to their Constitution. At level 3, they now get 3. That's better than a crit.
Yeah, that could be. And if you could just keep doing it over and over, then like you could just keep.
I mean, you're only going to have 3 key points at this point in time, so you can do it at least 3 times, but still.
Yeah. So too much on that?
I think I wouldn't do a damage die for each one. I would say,
because I'm trying to do less math in terms of like trying to calculate a whole bunch of stuff. I do want it to be substantial, and I want it to grow. It's just it's how substantial, does it need to be?
I mean, if you want it to feel more like inspiration, then you can give them a damage die equal to one of your martial arts die, and so that'll definitely grow over time. It'll get up to a D10. But because
we also want this to be usable, right? We want this to be used later. So maybe damage isn't the way we want to do this, because later down the road we give them health, right? So maybe infusing them, because right now we're slowing an enemy and we're making them have disadvantage. We're being able to increase our chance of surviving Constitution. What should, and then later we give our allies temporary HP, right? So what's in between all of that? Like, what's in between giving them HP and being able to slow down an enemy? You mentioned earlier, like speeding somebody up, but I don't know if pressure point really makes sense to be able to do that.
Yeah. I get that's kind of hard.
And I don't just want to do lesser temp HP now and then just increase the temp HP.
Yeah, agreed.
I want you to be able to have a choice. Later you can keep them up, but what can you empower them with now to would it be too much to say that you can spend a key point, or so as an action, spend 1 key point on 1 ally to imbue them until a short rest? You can imbue them with one extra action to use it there during the, like, basically they just get an extra action at any point.
How about this? How about instead of healing them or giving them temp HP, you can end a condition?
Oh, yes. Yes.
So if you're poisoned, you can end the poison condition.
Yes, as an action,
like
you
that.
can spend a key point to end any condition, any non-magical condition.
Well,
Wait. How about we do any non-magical condition, because later you get the ability to do magical strikes, right? So at 6th level, you get to do magical strikes. So what if at 6th level, we also add in, you can now take away magical conditions. So it starts with non-magical conditions. You can end non-magical conditions, and at level 6, you can end magical conditions.
I don't disagree with that. I don't have a problem with that. I think it should be the conditions from Lesser Restoration. Okay. So in Lesser Restoration, it says blinded, deafened, paralyzed, and poisoned. Those are very physical conditions.
And
I don't
those
think
make
you should
sense
be
for
able
the
to...
same thing that Monk can go against. So the things that Monk would understand. So how about that? So you as an action, you can use a key point on an ally to remove any condition as if you used Lesser Restoration.
Yes.
Done. That's hella good. That's useful whenever you just run by your ally and go boop, you're done.
Yes,
you're out of that.
It's paralyzed is huge. Poisoned sucks. Blinded and deafened. Like if you're a caster and you're either of the if you're a caster and you're blinded, like a lot of stuff has gone down.
I mean, I wouldn't. It would probably be too much verbiage, but I wouldn't even mind removing diseases. But
so theoretically, Lesser Restoration also does disease. But again, I was thinking like, how are your pressure points going to help you with the disease?
Yeah. Well, your immune system, all that kind of stuff. Like,
sure.
No, I get you. How about we just do that then? Just Vital Strike, halves movement, disadvantage on their next saving throw.
Mm-hmm.
Versus your Constitution saving throw bump, and your allies, you basically get to give them
remove a condition.
You can just remove.
And it goes along the healing vein.
It goes along it's not even, not just healing, but it goes along with the support level.
Yeah.
I'm learning to mess with our bodies. Let me keep us up and moving by unrestricting the flow of your energy. Right. No, I like, and again, it goes along with the West or the Eastern medicine mindset. Right, of learning what's wrong with the body. What is the body's ailment? Not what medicine do you need. What does the body need? Where is the flow of energy not happening? I like that. Okay, that makes Vital Strike way better. And again, it's vital. It's a vital strike, right? I know how to get to your vitals and stop a condition because I'm getting the vital flow through you. I can do my own Constitution. I can remove conditions from you guys, and I can make the enemy stop moving and have disadvantage on a saving throw because whatever's happening, right? I like this. That makes Vital Strike, I think, grow. I think you're always going to want to use one of those at that point.
That will stay in your arsenal till the end game.
Oh, 100%.
And it's not overpowered in the beginning game.
Mm-hmm.
So I love it.
Actually, I think it's actually super. I think it balances the early game way better because a lot of people get kind of like overwhelmed with conditions sometimes.
And it's really hard to. And like you can do a very similar thing as a paladin. You can spend 5 of your healing surges to remove one of these same conditions.
Yeah.
Right? So doing this like slightly differently as a monk with a key point, I feel like that's super on point.
I mean, hell, and at this point, again, this goes back to we've now, if we do this with conditions, you've added verbiage to where you can role play, hey, can I stop the bleeding? Can I pressure point to stop him bleeding out? Well, yeah, sure, that's a condition. Bleeding out can be considered a condition. Like if you're out of combat, like there's ways that you could extrapolate that and make it, better, right? So I like that. Yeah. I think having Vital Strike, having those 3 things, one for the enemy, one for yourself, one for your allies, and they're all different, I think just shows that you've mastered it in different ways.
Right.
I think then we move to Flurry of Precision, which I think is great. It just lets you add unarmed strikes to your Fury of Blows. I think that's really
cool.
And
doesn't it also make them stunning strikes? Isn't that this one too?
When you use Fury of Blows, one of your honor. Oh, so in this particular one, I said one of your Fury of Blows. One of the strikes of your Fury of Blows has stunning strike for free. Mm-hmm. Which I think it's fine just having one of the.
I think that's perfect because that is a passive ability. You get it all the time. Anytime you use Flurry of Blows, boom, you got a free stunning strike.
And then again, you can also, because by that point, you're also having a secondary attack, you can get another stunning strike out as a regular.
Yeah.
Like you can just proc that twice. And Flurry of Blows, you can do that against 3 enemies. plus your fourth, so you can have 4 enemies or 2 enemies stunned in 4 attacks. Like, I like
if they
that.
fail, yeah.
So yeah, so that one doesn't need change. So empowering strike, what do we do to this one? We changed up this one quite a bit, because this one was as a bonus action. Originally it says you can, this one was putting damage into your key points and then automatically causing stunning strike. I think we changed that up, didn't we?
We did. So I actually made some notes on this. It was basically when you use flurry of blows, your unarmed strikes become stunning strikes. All of them.
Right, yeah. So that just empowers the flurry of precision to where all of your flurry of blows are now stunning strikes.
But this is so you're still going to be able to use the other one that we're talking about, the precision. We're still going to be able to use that because that's passive. This is you're using resources to do this.
Right.
With the new version.
You've been a key point and then they all become stunning strikes, right?
Yeah, not just the fact that you spend a key point, the fact that you can only do it a certain number of times.
Right.
That was one of the biggest things, because in order to do everybody, that's crazy to be able to just spend 1 key point and get stunning strike. So if you can only do that a select number of times, you're going to be selective with when you use it.
Yes.
You're not just going to like use
to
it.
The Constitution modifier. Oh no.
I think what we talked about was proficiency for that and Constitution for. There was another aspect.
The actual effect of it.
Because they take extra damage equal to con mod, right?
Gotcha. I don't know if we kept that one, but I think that's where we were going with that one.
In terms
of thinking about it. Okay, cool. So yeah, so empowered strike, being able to not, instead of doing extra damage, but really being able to go after them a little bit more. I think that's the better way to go about it.
Okay.
And then the damage delay. I think we were okay with bolster vitality, keeping a 1d10 temporary hit points. And then the damned flow, we just kind of reworded that a little bit to the delay goes to a couple days, and you can proc it all at once or let them all go off on a timer.
And we were saying it's just like I choose. It's not of choosing how many damage die. It's like I can choose.
Yeah, I just, when I do my flurry of blows, they get the damage or they don't right now, and then I can just hold off on that. And we just say that enemy, that's how many damage die you'll roll against them at some point you choose. Cool. I like that. I think that is way better than what I started out with. I think it flows. I think it gives us, I think it gives a really interesting monk build, because it's without using magic, you now have so much battlefield control.
Yeah.
Without having to do things like, difficult terrain. Now you're just able to control an enemy. You can stop him in his tracks, give him disadvantage. And I still feel like even with these changes, we did exactly what I was hoping to do, which is make this feel like they train to be self-sufficient, but are a value to any party. Yeah. Because that was the whole point, is I wanted this to feel like this came from a place where they're not thinking, they weren't trained and designed to be part of a eclectic group of multifaceted people. They were trained to basically protect their monastery, protect their home, like protect themselves. That's why all of their abilities are, they're key, right? They're trying to figure out what they can do in surviving in the world, but their abilities are so beneficial to an archer when they can stop someone's movement,
right?
To a spellcaster when they can stop someone's saving throws, right? All of those little tiny things, I think, make this such a good support character. But if they were by themselves, all of it still makes perfect sense. They don't require a party, but they're not the lone wolf that no one wants to be around. Like, you're benefiting off the shit that he's doing for himself, basically.
Facts.
Which I really like that. Yeah. So what do you guys think? Chat? Kage, what do you,
I think it needs a name.
Oh yes, the name. So we don't have as many people in chat, but I'll see if anyone's still around. What should we name Pressure Point Monk? Oh my gosh. All right, so here are the names. We have Way of the Vital Flow, Way of the Living Pulse. My favorite two are the last two, which is Way of the Subtle Strike and Way of the Inner Flow. We're going to start that poll. I don't know how many people we have still left in chat, but if you guys are out there, go ahead and vote. Let us know what you guys think.
I'll say
Subtle
this.
Strike and Inner Flow are
Those two were my favorite
favorite.
before when you just told me them. Inner Flow was like, I was heavily leaning towards that one.
Yeah.
I will say I might still be leaning towards it, but the gap has significantly closed after hearing all the abilities. Like, I like Subtle Strike a lot. I think
it plays to the mind of what a pressure point attack really is.
And especially because of the fact, like, you can the delayed damage is really what does it for me, because I can withhold the damage. I can withhold what you feel, what you experience initially, but it still has an effect. It still is going to screw you up. And so, like, just being subtle about how devastating I can be, I think that speaks a lot to what this, at the very least, this class ends up doing.
And I think, again, too, like, going off on that same mindset, when we're thinking about, you know, the idea that not everything is delayed, but all of these things are also long lasting. When you're in a fight, you expect to get punched. You don't expect to get punched and then be dazed or distracted or not be able to handle cold. You know, like the idea that you're in a normal fight, but someone hits you and they hit you like 3 times and you're like, okay, that was pretty good. And you're like, why does my arm just feel weird after that one punch? You know, you dead horse them, right? It's like, it's like suddenly you're just like, what did you do to? And I like that mindset of you don't know what they did. It's that subtle, because again, it's one thing to get stabbed and go, oh, my arm doesn't work because I just got stabbed, or, you know, I took an arrow to the knee, that's why I can't walk. But for someone who comes up, does 2 punches and a kick, and you're like, and you know, you step back and you're like, whoa, okay. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, why am I dizzy? You don't know which of their attacks did it. And they all just felt like normal attacks. There was no obviousness. That's why I personally like the Subtle Strike.
I do like that.
It plays to the mindset of you don't actually, you know I hit you, but you don't know why it feels the way it does. And with Flurry of Blows, you don't know what hit did it. Was it my first one, my second one? You don't know which one did it. I hit you 3-4 times, and now all of a sudden your knee hurts, and you're like, wait, didn't you punch me in the face?
So
why does my knee hurt?
I almost like the idea, I was thinking about this, where like you can cause a certain like tick and detriment for every time you hit somebody. So it's like, okay, I hit you once, you get a -1 to your next attack roll. But if I hit you 2 times, then you get a -2 to that attack roll. If I hit you 3 times, you get a -3 to that. And so like keeps building and building. And so it's like that idea of like the dead arm or like whatever. It's like, oh, I'm going to have a much harder time doing this thing that I'm trying to do than I would have otherwise if you hadn't have just screwed me over like that. So
yeah. And that would be a really cool mechanic, either for a subclass or just in general to add in, where it's like, because, you know, we've talked about called shots before and stuff, and being able to have like some sort of mechanic to where you can target body parts and wear them down over time.
Yeah.
That kind of concept. Thank you, Hecate. I'm glad that you enjoyed the subclass. You did send those to Kage. Okay, we'll definitely have to take a look and see which direction you went with your pressure point monk. Hopefully we gave you some good ideas on what you think. Let's see. Are you guys the only ones in chat? You guys might be the only ones in chat. So looks like we're leaning on the Subtle Strike.
Subtle Strike?
I think that's where we're gonna head. I don't think we have enough people in chat to really sway it one way or the other. So I think we're gonna end with Way of the Subtle Strike.
Okay.
I think it's nice. I think it works because, again, none of what the abilities that we're doing, they're all powerful and like they do stuff, but they're not flashy. It's not like, again, you don't know where this shit came from. It's like these are after effects that happen from somebody punching you, somebody kicking you, somebody, you know, again, hitting you with their palm or digging 3 of their fingers up a rib, right? Like it's that idea of you don't really know what they did, you just know they did it.
And you're like, wild. And especially initially, it's not always crazy painful like you would normally think of pain, but it does have these almost like an aftertaste, like residual effects. Like I really like that.
Imagine just being able to, like, you know, walk up to like your ally who has a condition, you're just like, hey man, you're fine, and they're like, did you just I'm fine.
That's nice.
Like, what did you just do? Be like, don't worry about it. Like, you know, it's just that, you know, like you said, like being the masseuse, like a chiropractor, you just like, click, okay, you're fine, you're no longer dazed, you're good, your condition's gone.
Wild.
So yeah, so chat, I hope you guys liked it. If you're still on chat, give me a rating out of 10. What you think is this deserves in terms of compatibility with D&D in general. Like, is this something that you would want to use? Is it something that you feel could be used in other situations? I think we'll take what we wrote up today. We'll probably just redefine the class. We'll just rewrite those changes. I like all those changes. I think we really nailed it. I think once those changes are we'll post that in the MGS builds.
Yes, 100%.
And that will be a new class. This definitely exists in High Point now. Like 100%. I've wanted this for a while. I didn't really want to do this all by myself, so I thought this would be a great way to do it. And yeah, I think we got something here. I think for anybody, definitely once we get the finalized version in Discord, maybe we'll post it in MGS builds, and maybe we'll also pop it in Homebrewing just for people to kind of
play around and mess with.
Yeah.
Did you want to add in that last?
Yes. So this also came at the last second. We were just chit-chatting right as we were going live. We decided to add in, because, just like a couple of others have done. Oh, Hecate gives me a solid 7.
Ooh, okay. I like it. I like it. I like it so
much. I will take a 7. So we did add one more thing. So I
did throw it in if you wanted to take a look in your
in Discord.
In your Discord, yeah.
Sweet.
I don't know how well it's going to show up, but we'll see, because it's small.
It's fine. All right. So what we did was kind of like how some of you have done with your wizard classes, where you have added new spells. So even though the spells came with that subclass, the spells were basically added to the wizard or sorcerer list, right? They were intended for that subclass, but they were also just added. Well, that's what we did with a feat. So we decided to add a feat to the list of all feats. It is intended specifically for the Way of the Subtle Strike. So it is meant for the Pressure Point Monk, but anybody could take it. I think anybody, especially monks, could benefit from it, but you'll see why, and I think you see now even more so why this is going to be so good for this.
Oh no, this is going to be so cool.
So here is the feat that we're adding along with this monk, not specifically like a class feat. This is just a feat.
Go ahead and say it, because I have a question about this that I feel like will be very important to how this is going to work.
So I am calling this one the pendulum step. We've talked about this once or twice before, but I really like this idea. So the pendulum step, as a combat practitioner, you have learned to quickly close distance and retreat to a defensive position. Once per turn, you can make an unarmed strike at 10 feet reach. The idea being that with that 10 feet, you have such movement that without really using your movement, you can lunge or basically duck forward, get a strike in, and then return to your position without instigating an opportunity attack. But it does have to be unarmed, which I think makes it super unique, but also super beneficial to this particular monk. Because
very much so.
Being able to do flurry of blows and then reach someone at distance, or again, just being able to any unarmed strike at distance, I think changes us up. I think the 1 per turn was a beautiful addition by you, just to make sure that it's only one of your attacks per anytime you're doing an attack.
Right.
It's just a one time, I'm just reaching out, doing it, and coming back.
Now, I feel like this is very similar to something we were talking about recently with having reach, but would you say that, this was the subclass that we reviewed on Monday, because we're talking about the knack habit. Imagine, can you use, if you still have this attack available, could you use this as an opportunity attack when they're leaving your 10-foot range? You only have one reaction, so you can only do one opportunity attack, but could you delay it until they're 10 feet away if you still haven't used
pendulum step,
the pendulum step throughout during your turn?
Why not be able to use pendulum step as, because again, all it is once per turn you can make an unarmed strike. So that if your unarmed strike, if your opportunity attack is unarmed strike, why wouldn't you be able to use this as your reaction? So if you haven't used it and someone's moving within 10 feet of you, you can be like, hey, is that with it? That's in 10 feet. I'm going to use pendulum strike as an unarmed. I'm okay with that.
I think that's so dope. I
think 100% that pendulum step should also proc with opportunity attacks. I think it totally is fine.
Okay. Bet.
Especially with this class. And again, I think a lot of different monks, I think anybody could really utilize this. Most classes could find a use for this. Oh my God. Because we talked about, unarmed strikes are basically anything that you're not holding a weapon, right? But you can get into some really interesting conversations where like if you can convince your DM to let like bracers be considered finesse, you could take this feat with a ranger or with a rogue.
When you say bracers, are you talking about like hand wraps?
Yeah, like or glaives or whatever, like
gauntlets.
Gauntlets, yeah.
Okay.
If you could give gauntlets, if they're considered unarmed strike, but also if you can give them finesse, can you imagine a rogue with this ability to make a 10-foot reach sneak attack from like the shadows? Shit like that would be fucking overpowered and dead.
That would be kind of wild.
But yeah, so I really like this. I think it's a really good addition to come along with this class. So yeah, so if you guys like it, Pendulum Step lets you make once per turn an unarmed strike at 10-foot reach. I think it's beautiful. I would love to see this feature used more.
Yeah,
this feature definitely exists in High Point now, 100%.
Sick.
I just think that, yeah, I wouldn't want this to be every type. I wouldn't want your flurry of blows to be everywhere, but just one strike that just reaches out and just tags somebody somehow.
Especially if you save it for your opportunity attack and you're just out here and imagine if you took the Sentinel feat and you're like, bro, boom, now you can't move and you're 10 feet away from me, so you can't attack me. Like, dog, you can do some
we had
wild
things
stuff.
like, you know, if our stunning strike can be used anytime you do damage, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of different ways that you can keep piling that on. So yeah, so that was the extra addition that we wanted to add in, that I think, wrong camera, that we wanted to add in, because I think that was just a phenomenal feature that would be so good with this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just absolutely anytime. Doing flurry of blows, reach out, stun someone 10 feet away. It's too good. It's too good.
It's too good.
All right. Well, I will accept a 7 out of 10 from the community, even though Hecate is speaking for the community. That's fine for me.
I feel like Hecate is a good voice for our community, truly.
Yeah. I'm feeling like maybe Pokenator would probably give me like a 6 out of 10. I feel like he'd have a lot more, perhaps, a lot more to say on this.
Perhaps,
so
yeah.
Maybe we'll find out in Discord when everybody watches this one. But
I think that's a good.
Yeah. Otherwise, I think we are going to call it there. That was a good one. Actually, it took a little bit longer than I expected it to. I did not expect to run that long on it. I kind of thought that was going to be a lot faster. But we appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys sticking with me for my brand new homebrew. That was kind of awesome to bring that to you. What are we doing on Monday?
Monday, we are back with another homebrew review, and we are going to be reviewing Hecate's Snow Serpent.
Here we are.
And I got some notes from him, making sure everything is squared as it should be. So I am looking forward to seeing what that's going to look like.
Awesome. So we have that for Monday. We will not be in next Friday or the following Monday, but we will be in on Monday, this coming Monday. Mm-hmm. So be there for that.
And are we still deciding whether we're going to do the day before Christmas Eve, that Monday? We're
still trying to figure that out as we get closer. We'll probably
just
figure
in case
that out when
Soul wants to get a homebrew in before the end of the year or the first one of the next year.
Yeah, we'll figure that out after I get back from vacation.
Sure.
What our time frames are. And then I may or may not be hopping on to do some game streams this weekend. It's been kind of fun just doing some casual game streams again.
Yeah.
Gotten a lot more games. And playing Rocket League has been so much fun.
So a minor announcement on my end. Vortex was kind enough to help me out this past Tuesday, squaring away my streaming setup at the house. So I am going to hopefully with relative consistency be streaming on Tuesdays for some more coding, some more kind of like background Obsidian research. And one of the things I'm going to be doing this upcoming Tuesday, if all goes well, is working on our branded homebrew review template. Yeah. So I want to see how I can do with that, what I can set up, what kind of templates I can create for like all of the different homebrew review stuff that we're doing, because it would be so cool if I could just pop up a template. This is a subclass template. All I have to do is plug in your stuff. This is an item template. Yep. All I have to do is like, that stuff is going to be so easy and so clean once I figure out how to do it all. And I think it's going to help not only me, but I feel like showing it off to you guys what everything looks like. So
yes,
you can hang out with me for that. And
his link is in chat, guys.
Oh,
go
fabulous!
Follow him. He's been shouted out in chat, and we'll shout him out in the Discord. By the way, that link is also in the in chat as well. If you want to join our Discord, you'll be able to follow both of us going live. But yes, go follow him. Go help him out. Give him advice. And just help him out with the coding. It's just Look in the background of what we're doing here.
I'll be doing random streams too. Like maybe you and I will play Fortnite one of these days.
Yep. We're getting you a capture card, so
I just
you'll be able to do some
figured out
gaming.
how to do some of that, and that and Genshin Impact are the two games that I actually have. I love that one. Cosmic is the only other person in our community I know that actually Genshins at all.
Well, he'll probably watch you a lot
for sure.
Like, I guarantee he'd be there.
You know, listen, I've been playing for so long, and I've got a really good lineup. I just haven't been able to build certain characters to beat like a certain part of the content that's fairly standard for everybody else that they do on a regular basis. And I'm like, I need help to get there, man.
Well, there you go. Get on stream and get help. Y'all go follow him. Help him out when he's doing that. Like I said, if you see us online, always pop in, say hi. It's always great to see you guys. We'll be back on Monday with normal homebrew review. Thank you guys so much for listening to me and helping me figure out some of my own homebrew. That's been very
we got
awesome.
it.
Anyway, I hope you guys had a great week. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend ahead of you. If you see us online, say hi. Do we have anybody to raid tonight? I don't think anybody.
I don't think so. We had Mind's Eye on earlier, but they are gone for now.
That's fine. All right, cool.
If you want to raid Dark Viper?
He's too big. I don't think he's gonna mind. He's gonna care about our two people. But
wow.
Anyway, y'all, I appreciate you guys so much. Have a great, wonderful weekend. I hope you guys have a holiday. If we don't see you guys on Monday, have a great holiday. Have a great rest of your December. We have a couple more streams this month, and then we'll be taking a small hiatus, and then we'll be back in January. So
New Year.
Keep up with us on Discord. Keep up with us in all of our social medias. That link is in chat for all of our social medias, our Discord, and following Kage. Otherwise, continue to be great, and we'll see you guys on Monday. Cheers.
This is my friends.